Pro Podcast. Week 13, Niners up at Seattle. Welcome to the show. Today we have on Laken Tomlinson, left guard for the Niners, along with George and Emma. And then later in the show, you're going to hear from Ed Hall. He's our MVP veteran, Sergeant Major Ed Hall. Very long, distinguished career, 20-year Army veteran in the Green Beret and Special Forces. Talks a lot about his story, and I think you'll really enjoy that. So hope you enjoy the show. Also, check the show notes for the organizations that we're supporting this week. And go Niners. Let's get a win up in Seattle and stay on the track and make the playoffs. Here we go. Boom! We're going to go 3, 2, 1. That was lame as hell. Action!
All right, boys, settle down. Settle down.
Oh my God, I love you guys.
Laken, it's so great to have you on the show. We've been asking George to ask you for a long time. It's just been like not lining up, but this is great.
We're here.
This is a true honor being here. Thank you guys so much. Like, I'm so serious. Thank you so much, George, Bruce, Emma, Claire. Hey. Thank you.
No, so I'm just going to quick story for Emma and Bruce. So I'm sitting in the locker room, and Laken is, because if I'm sitting in my locker facing you guys, Laken is just diagonally to my right, like just on the other wall facing this way. And he just leaves over and goes, "Hey, George." He goes, "This is like the real deal. Like, this is an actual script." And I was like, "Yeah, like we're not just going to be sitting around the table." And he's like, "Oh." And I was like, "It's on Zoom." And he was like, "So I don't have to come to your house?" I was like, "I mean, you can if you want, but no, it's all over Zoom, man. Super easy." So he is excited. So I'm excited now.
Let's go.
Yeah, they think I'm a little anal sometimes when I do the whole script, but it gives us a little flow. So, Em, if you're ready anytime, we're good to roll.
Thanks, Dad. All right. Here we go. All right, Niner fans, we are back on the road this weekend, this time heading up the coast to our dear friends, the Seattle Seahawks, who come into the game with a 3-8 record. Who come into the game with a 3-8 record after losing Monday night on the East Coast to the Washington football team. While in last place in the West, they are always a threat and difficult to defeat at home, especially when they play the Niners. Fresh off a hard-fought win over the Vikings, 34-26. Duh, boys. The Niners are now 6-5 with a 4-game win streak. Hell yes, they are. And look to continue their push for a playoff spot through these final 6 games. To help us look at what is going on and prep for the next game, we have one of the two dominant left side of the Niners offensive line who has had an outstanding season, Laken Tomlinson. Welcome, Laken. We are so happy to finally have you here.
Thank you guys so much, man. I'm super excited to be on. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, Laken, it's not over yet. We're going to continue to talk about you because you're our guest. And, I actually have your bio completely memorized. I'm not going to read it off my phone, but I'm going to anyways. Originally from Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
Moved to Chicago in 2003 when he was 11 years old. Played college football at Duke and was an all-ACC academic team all 4 years he was in school. Look at that guy. Taken by the Lions in the first round of the 2015 NFL Draft. He's listed at 6'3", 315 pounds, and is married to Rachel. That is awesome. I love that, Laken. And you came to the Niners in 2017, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. We've been together all 5 years. Oh, and you have a little girl now, too.
Yeah, my little daughter, Tay. She just turned, actually, she's a year and a half now.
Year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Please tell Rachel hi for us. I love her purple hair.
Oh, thank you, man. She loves it, too. Oh, my God. She'll really appreciate that.
Oh.
All righty. Well,
where's her dad?
Good. All right. So originally from Jamaica, moved to Chicago, 11-ish. So just kind of, that's a little bit different backdrop, story for folks. So how's the transition hitting the States, especially Chicago at 11 and, working through, how was that growing up and what was that kind of time period in your life like?
Man, I mean, as you can imagine, it was a complete culture shock for me. Growing up in Jamaica, I remember, warm sun, you know, always sunny, always hot. And to move to Chicago, I think we moved to Chicago in March. So it was actually still snowing in Chicago. And it was fun for, you know, the first 2 weeks seeing snow for the first time in my life. And I remember we got out into the airport. We landed, we're in the airport, and we didn't have sweaters. So my uncle had to go drive, pick up some sweaters for us to leave the airport because it was too cold. So that was a definitely a culture shock for me, moving from Jamaica to Chicago. You know, growing up in the city, it's a way different than Jamaica. In Jamaica, I had a lot of time, a lot of you know, space to run around as a kid. We did everything, you know, played soccer outside, played cricket outside. You know, we had a lot of fun. There were fun times in Jamaica. In Chicago, not really the case. Cold winters, you know, the gun violence in Chicago. So I felt pretty restricted when I first got there. So that transition for me, you know, as an 11-year-old kid, it was actually pretty tough. I'm not going to lie. And, you know, it took me a while to kind of get acclimated to the environment I was in.
All right. And then tell us just a little bit of snapshot of the family when you moved up. How many siblings? And then I know your mom was with you. Like,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So it was my mom and my 3 other siblings. I have a older brother, Jamal, younger brother, Javane, and the youngest, Chelsea, my only sister. So it was all 4 of us, and my mom, we moved up. My grandparents at the time, they were in the States for a while. So they actually worked in the States to get all of their kids and their kids to the States. And my mom, being the youngest of, the second youngest of 10 kids, she was one of the last groups to 10 kids. She was one of the last groups to come up, and you know, we came up with her as well.
We don't know many other people who have 10 kids, but our mom is one of 10 girls.
10 girls.
10 girls.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, trust me, a lot of aunts. Oh my God.
Indeed.
George and I actually only have aunts. We have no blood.
No uncles. No uncles. Wow.
Wow.
Okay. So of your 3 siblings then, all right, who's the toughest?
I mean, I'm apt to say my older brother. I mean, you know, he's 3 years older than me. So when we came up, he was 14 at the time. And actually, you know, I kind of talk about how it was hard for me, you know, growing up in Chicago. It was a lot harder for him because he was thrown into high school, didn't really have a choice of what high school he had to go to. So he was thrown into the environment from the get-go as a young adult. And it was extremely hard for him to kind of, you know, navigate as a young adult in that environment. And, you know, but he persevered, got through it. Went on to be Navy, and now is a retired Navy in Atlanta, now a real estate agent in Atlanta. So when it comes to resilience, I don't know about anybody tougher than my brother because he's super resilient.
Well, that's pretty cool. And I'm just you won't know this, but so so the second part of our show is we do a veteran military service with a group called MVP, Emerging Vets and Players. And so we started the show a little bit about his background, and it's interesting because he has 2 brothers and 1 sister. And he also was raised by his mom. And so, and I'm leading into that because I'm going to ask you in a second, maybe, you know, kind of one of the best or hardest lessons that you've learned growing up from your family. And I want to read this quote that we found because for our veteran, his name's Ed Hall, Sergeant Major Ed Hall. He talked a lot about his mom and the resilience that she taught him and how tough, you know, that's really where he learned about it. But here's a quote from you about your mom. And I think this was in an award, I think at the Orange Bowl a while back, but I still thought it really resonated. So if that's okay if I read that. So you said, "My mother has been the greatest influence of my life, and none of this recognition would be possible without her sacrifice, love, and support. It means the world to me to make her proud. If not for her, I could still be in Jamaica, living a life of poverty. Every time I go home or have an opportunity to talk to my mother, she always tells me before she hangs up, 'Laken, I love you, and I'm extremely proud of you and everything that you do for our family. Keep doing what you're doing. The Lord has a plan for you. So those are pretty powerful words, and that's pretty cool. So I'm just going to guess that she had a slight influence in your life and that you guys are pretty close. But so talk to us a little bit about that, and then maybe kind of a family lesson, and maybe it's the brother resilience or whatever, but just maybe some of the lessons that you learned growing up in the family.
Yeah, I mean, why? My mom, man, God bless her. Just being a single mom with 4 crazy kids, it's tough alone. But all the hardships that she had to go through, not only in Jamaica, but our early times in Chicago. She'd been through a lot of stuff, and God bless her, that she was able to not only raise 4 wonderful kids, but also, I owe everything to her, because her vision that she had for her kids, to keep us out of the violence, keeps us out of gangs, keeps us out of doing drugs. It is extremely hard for a single parent. It's very hard for a mom to do the job of a mom and a dad, but she did it. And I could never, I don't think there's anything I can do or say that, all I can say is thank you, Mom. I love her to death for all the sacrifices that she made for all 4 of us.
Okay. All right. And then one core lesson that kind of stuck with you from the family or from your mom.
It's resilience and perseverance. You go through tough times in life, but if you believe where you're going, and you let that belief pull you, everything will work out. And my mom is the living embodiment of that. And that's one thing I've learned from her.
That's pretty cool. All right. Well, thank you very, very much for sharing that. I think that's a pretty cool story. So all good. Okay. Then eventually you attended Lane Technical College Prep High School. I couldn't quite figure out what their mascot was. Do they have a mascot? Is it engineering?
I'd say they used to have a mascot. They don't anymore. It used to be the Indians, but that's gone now.
So now they're the Lane Technical College Prep High School football team?
Yep. Yes, they are.
Okay. You were the team MVP your senior year. You're 4-time all-conference. You also did track, did the old shot put in the discus, throwing the big lead around and all that kind of stuff. All right. So then, being a big hot shot, Chicago athlete, getting recruited and all that. So you eventually end up going to Duke. So tell us a little bit about the recruiting process and how and why you ended up at Duke University.
Man, I feel like I'm, a result of some great luck, because when I first started getting recruited, actually, I wasn't even the guy they were looking at. I started getting recruited my sophomore year in high school, and we were playing against a tough opponent, and a recruiter came and saw me, and that just kind of put me in the spotlight. I was fortunate enough to get a ton of offers in high school, Big Ten. One of my biggest ones were Ohio State. And, but I was recruited by Duke really hard. Coach Cutcliffe, he was my primary recruiter. He recruited me himself as the head coach. And I thought that was really cool, for someone who's responsible for a team. Came to one of my games. I couldn't tell you, it was probably like -5 or something outside. And he was out there in his trench coat on the sidelines. And I just thought this guy he's really serious about recruiting me. So I took that to heart, and, I went on an official visit there, and I met some great people. Vinny Ray was actually my host at Duke, and Vinny Ray, the senior at the time, went on to play, I think 7 years for the Bengals. And so he was a great host for me, the perfect guy that I could match up with going to Duke. And I saw the vision that the program was going in at the time, and I believed in it, and I believed Coach. And, and that's why I chose to go to Duke.
Very cool. All right.
So I have a question. So because obviously Chicago to Duke, like you're getting pretty used to the cold, shall we say? How do you deal with the cold now?
It's kind of, back and forth. I went from Jamaica to Chicago, then Chicago to North Carolina. So that was pretty cool. It wasn't really cold there. Snowed maybe a couple times. But then, went to Detroit, and, that was pretty cold. Then I went to San Francisco, and now I'm very happy. So, yeah.
So, like, when you said you moved to Chicago, it was like March, right? So, like, you missed like the cold months. So, like, that following winter, like when that first like December, January, February hit, were you just like, where am I?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was miserable, because not only was it very cold, but you can't go outside. And we were in a small apartment at the time, and I was living with my aunts and their kids, and so it was just not a lot to do. So we were like, let's say, winters in Chicago, it was real deal, man. And I just remember, in high school, going to school, we didn't have any winter days, like -30. Oh, we're still going to school. So I still remember making that trek to the train stop, waiting for the train in the cold, taking the train to Western and Addison, taking the Addison bus by Wrigley to Lane. And that was like, on a normal day, it's like an hour trip. In a winter day, that's like 2.5 hours. So it got tough at times, but I don't really miss it. I don't really miss the cold at all.
No. Georgie, running through the Duke stuff under there, paragraph B.
All right, let's see. You started your freshman year. Kudos to you. No red shirt for Laken.
Oh no, I think I did redshirt.
How long were you in college for? 5 years or 4 years?
5 years, yeah.
Oh, so you started as a redshirt freshman then?
Redshirt freshman, yeah. There we go.
All right. Okay. So wait, let me ask you this before we even get into that. Like, what was your redshirt year like? Like, what was required of you? Were you more like, what'd you do?
I felt like I needed the redshirt year, not only for football, but for academics as well, because I was not ready for the level of work that I was doing at Duke. It was extremely hard to go from, high school student athlete, where, I get the high school work, to a college student athlete where no parental supervision, I'm on my own, and I had to manage my own time on my own. And that was a very hard transition. And I lucked out. I met my wife my freshman year and became study buddies, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's awesome. I think I used my redshirt year about the same. A little bit. Yeah, I was focused on other things. But all right, so you redshirted and you started 52 career starts. That's gnarly. You had more starts than I did catches in college.
What? No, are you serious?
I had 46 or 43 catches in college, something like that.
Oh man.
Fun. Wow, that's really funny.
Yeah, I don't think I missed a game that I was eligible for.
Sick.
That's pretty good. It's a hell of a record.
So you ended up being an All-American, Walter Camp All ACC academic. That's pretty impressive.
That year, I'm not even sure how I made it, because Florida State won the championship that year for football, and also Duke basketball won the national championship as well. So I was starstruck that I won. But I mean, hey, I represented Duke in everywhere I could, on and off the field, and I was truly honored to get that award. It was a true honor, really.
Oh, I love it.
Very cool.
So let's see. You studied evolutionary anthropology and psychology.
I studied anthropology.
You studied Evan? I love Evan.
Well, no, so I didn't do evolutionary anthropology, but
Yeah.
I did. So my major going into college, I declared as anthropology because I wanted to be Indiana Jones, and then fell out of love with it a little bit. But I loved like the cultural anthropology, and so then journalism. So I got my minor in anthropology and my major in journalism. But I don't meet many other anthropologists. That's so cool.
I started with anthropology as well, and then I trickled over to evolution anthropology once I started getting into psychology. Because I wanted to kind of tie the two together, where my core focus in psychology was in Evanth was evolutionary psychology, and then my core focus in psychology was cognition. So I brought that together was evolutionary cognition. So that was kind of like my little small niche in my majors.
Oh, that's so cool.
Do you think we're still evolving cognitionally?
Of course. I mean, just look at everything that we've able to do. We've able to move memory from internally from our brain to our phones. So of course we're still evolving.
Well, more on that later. Okay. All right, George.
All right. It says that you want to become a neurosurgeon and improve healthcare in Jamaica.
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually it's one of my, that's what you say my ultimate goal is. When I was in high school, my grandfather ended up passing away when I was a sophomore, and he passed away from stomach ulcers. And it was a very tough time for our family because he was the cornerstone for all of our family members. He made everything possible. He came up and got all of our kids to the States. And we all loved him. So when he passed away, it was a shock for me personally. Just how it happened. I was living with my grandfather who was in 7th grade, and he had a similar episode to what he had in Jamaica. But I was with him, my older brother and I, and he lost consciousness in the bathroom. We didn't have any phones in the house at the time. So while my brother was attending to him, I ran across the apartment complex to one of our neighbors and begged them to use the phone to call 911. So 20 minutes later, the ambulance came, took him to the hospital, ended up being okay in 3 days. Wanted to get out of the hospital as soon as he can. But, a couple of years later, my sophomore year in high school, he went to Jamaica, had a similar episode and ended up passing away. And I remember when I got the news, I was extremely angry at the time because I felt that if he was here in the United States, that he'd be okay, and that he would be able to pull through it. And I questioned, why did that happen? Why did my grandfather had to pass away? So that really stuck in my heart. It's still in my heart. And I ended up writing a senior paper in high school about the Jamaican healthcare system, and just how different it was from United States, and what were some of the things that could be done to improve it. And that in my heart was kind of the foundation for a lot of decisions I made as a young adult and as an adult today. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Duke as well, because I know they had a really good pre-med program, and I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be a doctor, and because I wanted to go back to Jamaica and help my country. So and I still do. I still really do.
And Laken, did you ever find an answer to the question of why?
Why I wanted to be a doctor?
No. Well, you asked before about why the circumstances came about where your grandfather was in Jamaica and passed while he was there. And that kind of, all those facts all fit together to kind of create that perfect storm,
Right.
and it's like that was kind of weighing on you. Did you ever? What'd you come up with?
The simplest answer was the healthcare system just wasn't sufficient enough to handle that kind of situation. There's poverty in Jamaica, but what I've learned is that the poverty isn't stemmed from the people. It's stemmed from the schooling system. It's stemmed from the working system. It stemmed from a lot of different problems that ends up trickling back to the healthcare system, and that's why it was so poor. And that is something that I'm extremely adamant about changing. And I felt like every step that I've taken as a young adult, even today, I feel that playing football is my best chance to give back to my country, because one of the first things I did, and I'll talk about it later, but one of the first things I did when I got drafted was I put away money for myself to go to school, and then I put away money to build a hospital.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Badass.
Yeah, that's great. So, any anticipated construction date yet, or what are you thinking? How far out?
So I'm really adamant about finishing school first, and I don't see that happening anytime soon, because I kind of want to play for another 10 years plus.
Yeah.
So, but no, I've learned about myself that I'm extremely stubborn, and when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So that's something I've been adamant about, and it's driven my decisions in my life for so long that I don't see myself differing from that path at all.
That's very cool. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that. All right, George, where are you?
Sorry, I kind of went like a little.
That was fascinating. No, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. So, what was the best thing about attending Duke?
You just cut me off. I was going to say
you looked lost. You looked lost. I was just trying to help.
Muted. So I unmuted, and then I was going to say, well, first off, he was an ACC Men's Athlete of the Year in 2015. Did you get like a photo shoot for that, like a cover shoot?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. Oh my God.
Sick. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. And now, Emma, for the next question is, what was your favorite thing about attending Duke? Non-football related. Non-football related?
Yes. Okay, so it can't be football. Can it be basketball related?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
No, the games they're I mean, obviously Duke is known for, their basketball, and I was believe it or not, I've only attended one Duke basketball game my time there. So they have this thing called the Cammon Crazies, and if you want to go to a game, you have to camp out for weeks or months at a time for a single game, and rain, snow, hurricane, whatever, you can't lose your spot. And it was let's just say it was very tough for us to camp out during spring ball. So I couldn't really attend any of those games, but the ones I did, it was a lot of fun, and truly an experience, really, to go to one of those Duke games.
Wow.
Actually, fun fact, one of my first Duke games I've been to was on a recruiting trip to Iowa.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
You went to the University of Iowa on one of your visits?
Mm-hmm. And
wow.
I was fortunate enough to go to an Iowa Duke game, basketball.
Huh. Small world.
No, small
Who
world.
recruited you at Iowa?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember anyone? Do you remember the name of who recruited you by chance or no chance?
No, I do not remember. But I knew that they recruited my buddy really hard, Louis Trinca-Passat. You know Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Trinca-Passat.
Yep, he's my guy. So, fun fact, we went to the same high school.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That is fun. Okay.
More you know.
Well, cool. All right. Emmy, transition.
All right. So last week with Alex Mack, we had a first round draft choice. So we have another one here. So pretty badass. How was it being picked in the first round? And you were 28th overall, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was, I can't even describe to you what I was feeling that day. I was fortunate enough to get an invitation to the NFL draft, which was, I didn't even know how this happened. It was in my hometown in Chicago. And I when you talk about like a fairy tale to a young man, that's literally what it felt like. I was there in my hometown with all my family, all my friends, everyone who's ever supported me, growing up in Chicago. And, when I first got that call, I got a call from a 313 number and picked up, and it was Jim Caldwell with the Detroit Lions telling me that, congratulating me and telling me that I got drafted with their 28th pick. And at that moment, I honestly couldn't even describe the feeling because, just everything that I've been through in my life to that point, all the hardships that, my mom experienced, everything that, my grandfather did to get us to the States. I felt like that night, I really made my mother proud, and that, if my grandfather was alive, that I'd made him proud as well. So it was truly a magical night for everyone in my family, and it changed my life forever.
Cool.
Awesome story. Yeah. So what was the biggest transition from college to the NFL for you?
Biggest transition from college to the NFL. I would say just like understanding like the technical protocols that you need to get your job done, and adjusting on the fly. I really felt like I didn't really feel like it took me a couple of years to get a good hang of it as a player. But I had a really, really good off-season coach, Jackie Slater. I met him in LA, and I trained with him one off season, and I think literally training with him that one off season, like something just clicked for me, and that's when I started to piece everything together. So I'd say like, yeah, that was like one of the hardest things, was like understanding the operational protocols that you need as a player to get your job done in a consistent level. So and it was tough, and I got humbled really quick in my rookie year. But I fought through it, and I got some good coaching, and it turned around.
When you say operational protocol, are you talking like mostly technique, like footwork, hat placement, hand placement, use of body?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of that. Yep.
Was there anyone who was like really influential in helping you fit in and kind of figure it out, or like find that flow?
Jackie Slater. So, I mean, Jackie Slater played 20 years as a tackle for the Rams. So it's actually very funny the way I met up with him. I was in LA, I was getting a haircut, and I was talking to my barber. I was just like, hey, I'm looking for some coaching in the offseason. I'm trying to really develop as a player in this league. I want to, cement myself in the league. And he was like, hey, I know a guy, who's actually local out here who trains linemen. And if you want me to hit him up for you, I will. I was like, what? Yeah, of course. What's his name? And it said Jackie Slater. I didn't know who it was, when he said it, but I went home, looked him up, and I was like, oh my God.
That'll do. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes, please. So I was like, Hall of Fame, 20 years. Yeah, it was a no-brainer for me. So I was actually nervous because like he wanted my barber actually reached out to him, and he was interested and wanted to interview me. So I was super nervous. I was like, oh my God, this guy's gonna, think I'm not good enough, or I'm not, don't have enough potential. So, but I met with him. I met with him at a Starbucks, and he talked to me for a couple of times. It was like, I'll take you on. I'll help you train this off season. I was like, great. When can we start? It was like tomorrow morning, 7:30. I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, sure. I was all game, but I think that getting connected with Jackie was great for me as a player because he gave me a solid foundation, what I needed at the time to develop in the player that I am today.
Talk about meant to be.
I know.
Divine guidance there. Do you still work with him, or how long did you work with him?
Yeah, I mean, I got so much, like positive feedback, from how I was playing that I've been going back every year. I go back at least once a year, twice a year, if I get some time. But no, I go back. I try to go back every year, meet with him. He's amazing to talk to, super knowledgeable guy. And, as a kid who, didn't really grow up with football, spent the first 11 years of my life in Jamaica with no knowledge of football, and to hear the football stories that he has and just sit there and listen to him, it's like a true honor. And I feel like I'm soaking up so much knowledge just being in his presence. So I think he's an amazing guy and an amazing guy to talk to, an amazing guy to learn from as well.
That's awesome. Well, I guess maybe take us now through the transition from your cold Detroit team to come into the Niners. So you were first signed August 31st, 2017 to a 3-year deal in June of 2018. You played with Joe Staley and now Trent Williams. What's the transition been like for you?
I mean, it's been nothing but great. When I first got here, in August of 17, I mean, I did not know what to expect. My first time meeting the team was actually at Kyle Shanahan's party, his party that he has, for the players and staff at the end of camp. So, and I was so nervous. I didn't know anyone. And I'm showing up to a party at the coach's house, and I was so nervous I was gonna make a fool of myself. I was like, I am gonna be in my best behavior, but it ended up working out really well. Everyone was super welcoming. The coaches were very, very, very cool, and I got to work with some great people. John Benton at the time was the offensive line coach, who was a great coach, and Kyle Shanahan being in the system, took the time to learn the system, and then play next to Joe, Dan Kilgore at the time. And, it's been great. And I'm fortunate enough to, sign the extension with them and, play with Joe, went to Super Bowl with Joe. And I love Joe. I love Joe so much. I miss him. I text him every now and then just to see how he's doing. Lost a ton of weight since he retired. But then, I feel like I've been spoiled because I go from Joe to Trent Williams. I'm like, oh my God, I went from Hall of Fame to Hall of Fame. I'm just like, all I can say I've been spoiled here, playing next to those guys, and it's just been a true honor. And I try to give everything I can for this team because I know what kind of situation I'm in, with the team, with the guys I have around me, and they're great people. And I want to show my appreciation of that with my work.
That's pretty cool. But
Hey, real quick, did you see Dan Kilgore? Was that the Rams game?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I took a picture with him.
Oh, I know. How great was that?
Yeah.
I
man,
miss that dude.
Oh man, I miss that guy, man. He's such a cool dude. 2 kids now.
No, dude.
Yeah, 2 kids.
Crazy. All right, sorry.
No, that's all right. Well, and then Laken, how was playing with Joe versus Trent? How are they different, like as players or from communication and just all that kind of stuff? I mean, I know they're both great players, but are there differences, as being the guard that's working with them?
I mean, how can I describe it? Going from Joe, just the all-pro Joe is just to all-pro Trent. It's been I mean, amazing. I mean, I don't really have to change much of what I do, because I just know for a fact that I know exactly what I'm going to get from my tackles. So, Trent, it's been awesome playing with Trent. Obviously in the past couple of years, you see him make these splash plays. I'm talking about running over linebackers and like pummeling guys. But it's been a lot of fun. I mean, really, it's been a lot of fun playing next to both those guys. I've learned a lot from both those guys. I mean, my first 3 years here with Joe, I learned so much. Not only on the field but off the field as well. I mean, he helped me understand the playbook, and throughout the later years, I've gotten advice from him on how to be a dad, how to be a football father. So Joe's like one of my closest friends.
That's pretty cool. Okay. How about, and I know all the schemes are different, whether it's a 3-man front or 4-man front, but consistently in the Niner offense, particularly the run game, what's one of the hardest blocks you're consistently asked to make that is just always, it's going to be a challenge? And I know it depends a little bit on the player, but like reaching a 3 technique without a chip, I don't know. Sometimes blocking a 3 technique on 3rd and 15 is pretty damn tough too. But I know what's one of the more challenging, and I'm an O-line junkie, so I love this shit. So if everybody else is tuning out, it's okay. But I'm just curious, like, what's one of the hardest things that you get to asked to do all the time?
Man. I mean, what can I say? I would say one of the hardest things you can ask for a guard is a double bump.
Okay.
Yeah, that's blocking one defender into a blitzing linebacker. So I think that's one of the hardest things you can do in our system. Because you're responsible for 2 guys.
Right. Chipping and going. Okay. And then who's the best player you faced?
I mean, I'm gonna have to say Aaron Donald. I mean,
Great, besides Aaron.
Yeah.
He's unanimous, 99 overall on Madden 8 years in a row.
What do you mean?
Yeah, he's really good at football. We all know that he's really good at football. Pick someone else.
Okay. I mean, he is like, the reason why I work so hard in the offseason, but it's all good.
I like that. There are people in our league that I look, I'm like, this is a grind no matter who every time I go against them, I have to be on my best game. But like, just for example, because I'll never forget when we were playing in Cincinnati in 2019, they had Geno Atkins.
Geno, yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember like funny stories between Mike Persons and Jimmy G. Do you remember that one? There was like a push in the pocket. You remember that? There was
man.
And Jimmy threw it, and Mike Person like had a 1-on-1 versus Geno Atkins, and gets kind of pushed back because he's massive. And Jimmy goes, "Hey, can we keep the pocket a little tighter?" And Mike Person turns around and goes, "It's Geno effing Atkins, Jimmy. Like, cut me some slack." And I was just like, that's one of the, because I was in the huddle and I heard it, and I just started crying laughing. I was like, oh, don't talk to the O lineman about that, dude. What are you doing?
I thought I heard that too, and then it was later confirmed after the game that he actually did say that. I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is Geno Atkins.
It is Geno Atkins.
It is Geno Atkins.
He's good at football.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, man, we play against a lot of tough guys, but still got to block them.
Got to.
That's one of the toughest blocks. So I mean, I know the tackles on the edge with those speed rushers, but playing a really good 3 technique by yourself, because the center's usually going with the shade on the nose. And the tackle, if he's got a wide, then you got A and B gap width, and there you are with that big old 3 technique. If you're not sliding, it's tough.
I mean, you got Aaron Donald in the 4-eye technique, walk up the linebacker in the A gap, and the center has a nose on him with a empty protection, and tackle got to go block the edge rusher. I got a 4-eye and a linebacker.
Pick one.
You pick one, yeah. I got to double bump him.
There you go. That's tough. Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's see. Where are we, Emmy Lou?
Let's see.
Into your 7th season in the NFL, maybe talk what are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned that have gotten you to where you are, and maybe about not just surviving, but how you have totally thrived and excelled within the NFL. So any little nuggets you want to leave?
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the most important things I learned actually really early in my career was body maintenance. I had a kind of a mentor of mine. Actually, he was a guy that Detroit traded back for. They traded for Manny Ramirez from Denver to Detroit, and he was a center at the time. And so he became kind of my mentor. He was in the 9th year in the league, and I remember I just did everything he did. He went to go get a massage. I went to get a massage. He went to the chiropractor. I went to the chiropractor. He went to do some acupuncture. I did acupuncture. So I just did everything that he did, and I just kind of stayed in his hip pocket. And I kind of use that experience, to learn about my body and how I can, maintain my body and get it to playing shape every week. And he was a really good mentor to me, and it taught me a lot about maintain your body throughout the weeks.
Laken, if you could give advice to like a high school, college player, like about a body maintenance thing that works for you, just pick one. Like, what's your favorite besides like not a massage, but like
right? Yeah.
One of your favorite things that you use.
Foam roll.
Foam roll.
You got a foam roll. Yeah, it's obviously you can just get a foam roller. It's not expensive, but you can get a foam roller. You can do it anytime. You can do it at home. You can do it, right before, an hour before you practice. It'll always be good for you. So I'd say foam rolling would be the number one for a high school.
Why do you like it so much? What benefits do you get from it?
Obviously, like instead of like getting a massage, it's a really quick access way to kind of just get rid of any tension that you have in a muscle group. So if you say you're foam rolling your hamstrings, your quads, you can even put a foam roll on your back, attack those muscle groups and get some relief.
Cool. That's a fun fact. I have not foam rolled since college.
Oh my God. We had to do it before every single workout, before every like mobility workout, before every weightlifting workout, before everything. Well, and
that's what made me hate it. That made me hate it.
But also like so appreciate it. Like I have like nightmares at Iowa waking up and you're doing your like 5:45 workout and you're starting on a foam roller. And if you're not doing it the right way, you're getting yelled at.
Oh my God.
On a PVC
I'm telling you, like, because when I got to the NFL and like I didn't know like I thought it was gonna be just like college, like more intense. Like the strength coach has like all the power in the world, like you have to do everything, like that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But so I as soon as we got in there like 20 minutes early for the workout, and I'm foam rolling because I have no idea. Like, I'm just sitting on the floor, no idea what to do. And then we come in, we did like a 5-minute warm up, and we go into the lift, and I was like, oh, that's what the NFL is. Okay, sounds good. And I don't think I've touched a foam roller maybe like twice or 3 times max since college.
However, I do want to say though, that's because you have resources to do other things though. So right. as a college, as a high school person who can't afford to get a massage or who doesn't have that option, like that is your massage. And yep. I guess one thing that I want to point out that you said, Laken, was you didn't reinvent the wheel, right? You just did what this other person was doing. And I think success leaves clues, and it's not, here are 2 guys who are telling you exactly what to do. Like the biggest thing was body maintenance. So I'm curious now that you do have resources and access, I think that's truly one of the coolest things about being a professional athlete or just being in the athletic field is the access to taking care of your body and learning about your body and like the different care that you can get and be exposed to. But so now that, George, this is a question for you too, but now that you both have like the next level of, kind of like the creme de la creme, what is your favorite type of recovery or body maintenance? Or maybe it's just something different that you want to share about. And George, besides yoga with me, obviously.
I'll go first. But I would say acupuncture and dry needling. That would be my because so I discovered dry needling exclusively in 2017. And, I found out that, a lot of places where, a massage person can't really access like deep muscle, like say in your back or like maybe like trying to get your muscle turned off in your hamstring. I've discovered that dry needling can, those muscles that are tense or tight or just activated dry needling can shut them off, and the muscle groups that not firing, say like your glute med, your psoas, like stuff like that, they can go in there and turn them on. So when it comes to, the long grueling season, you're going to get, those 1 or 2 weeks where something's not firing right, or, something's like too tight, or, just can't really calm this muscle down. And I felt like what I discovered in 2017 was like dry needling was that instant cure for me, and I tried it then and I haven't stopped. I'm telling you, like, even in the off season, dry needling, like once or twice a week.
Yeah. And I think especially for like any younger players who are thinking about, so when you think about dry needling, you're like what? And it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
If you work with a really good person, it does. I mean, there is a little bit of pain, but overall it's not awful. But the other thing is, like, the more that you learn about your body and you pay attention to what's going on, the more you're going to see that, like, sometimes you are straining a muscle, or you're hurting, or you're weak in a certain area because a muscle has just straight up turned off. And it's not something that you can just work through and will back on. It's something that you have to, like, go in and have treatment on, because X, Y, and Z, like, everybody's different, right? So bioindividuality, but at the same time, it's like, you can't power through everything, and you can't just do more squats or do more RDLs or do more deadlifts to, like, get stronger and do something.
Right.
Sometimes it's not going to work, and your brain's not making the connection to your muscle. So thank you for sharing that. G baby, what you got?
Something I think that's worked really well for me. I like to do like a massage. The deep tissue massage is my favorite. I think it's one of the most beneficial things. I am a very tight person at all times. Like, my hamstrings, like, my back, I'm always tight. And if I'm getting hit and stuff, like, you could run game, your neck, your shoulders, traps, and when you get tackled, like your thighs, your calves, like, you're just sore all the time. So I think deep tissue does a great job of that. But I like to pair a deep tissue massage with acupuncture, which I hate needles. I despise them. I don't ever watch them go into my body. But
Says the man who is so tatted up.
Yeah.
LOL.
Don't like needles. That's a little short needle, not like a needle that is like this long that goes into the side of your glute, and you feel the whole.
I never watch it.
I can't watch it. Like, it's awful. Like, I hate needles, but the benefits that my body sees from them, I think it fixes so many things. Like, from the turning on to turning off stuff. Like, I'll sit there, my acupuncturist Virginia, she'll like, oh, here, like, push over here, and I have like no strength, and she puts like 3 needles into my core, and all of a sudden I'm Superman, and I'm just like, wow, this is pretty sick. So, like, that type of stuff. So I like to do massage, acupuncture, and I like to do some type of activation. Like, with the Niners, we have a Goscu, or if I didn't have access to that, like a type of yoga, like a video I'd find online, or Emma, but like just something to activate and get your body going again, because the deep tissue massage can sometimes leave you lethargic. And then you're laying on a table for an hour getting acupuncture. So you're definitely not going to be like, your muscles might be getting activated, but you're not awake. But like, just to do something to get your body going again, just to start that activation process, so you're ready for the rest of the week. And that's when, like, you just got to find things that work for you. But like, those 3 things together have been very, very good for me and my body.
Right. And but body maintenance isn't something, right? So if the guys are doing needling or something twice a week, body maintenance isn't something that you only do twice a week. It's something that they do every single day. And it's the way that they warm up. It's the way that they breathe. It's the way that they go to sleep. It's the way that they stretch. It's everything. And so just, and I also just want to say, just because you're not a professional athlete does not excuse you from body maintenance. And we talk a lot about, like, aging. Well, not on here, but I talk a lot about with my clients about, like, aging gracefully and how to, take care of your joints and how to take care of your body. And so you have this, like, thriving life as you start to transition into later, years and stages of your life. And the number one thing is people don't drink enough water. So you're not hydrated and your body can't process things at all. And you just turn into this stiff leather strap. And number 2 is we just don't take care of ourselves. And so don't hide behind the excuses of, I'm not a professional athlete, because it catches up with you no matter what you do. So that's my TED Talk. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Thanks, guys.
No, body maintenance is a lifestyle.
Take care of your body. Yes.
Okay, well, let's go from the body to the mind. Okay. So, as part of our Hit Girls podcast, as part of Thunderbird Performance, and we have a program called Mindful Awareness and Performance, kind of a meditation, mindfulness-based mental prep. for athletes and that kind of stuff. So we're always curious. So things that we work on around affirmations, visualization, breath work, meditation, that kind of stuff. So just checking in with you, what have you found over the course of your career, and maybe started in college or whatever, just for your mental prep? And is it different from training to practices and game day? Like, what gets you ready to go for your game?
I can answer that for later. Once the headset comes on Sunday and the music turns on and Laken starts rapping, it's game day. Like, that is a trigger for me. It's right when that's before we go out for the game.
Before we go out for the game.
After warm-ups and the full pads or the team warm-ups, we come inside. I'm sitting there, and about 3 minutes later, Laken's pacing the whole locker room, rapping. And when I hear that, I am triggered. And I'm like, all right, let's go. let's ride. Like, let's ride. I'm in. So thank you, Laken. I have a trigger point that you are in charge of.
And I'm happy.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
Like, is it your stuff, or are you singing along with somebody else?
I'm singing. This is a rapper. It's a Chicago rapper, really, that I mostly listen to on game day. But no, for me, like, how I prep for game day, and like, just it's different for me. Like, how I prep for the weight room, or how I prep for practice. For practice, I'm super locked in. I'm super, I'm focused on visualization a lot throughout practice. When I'm training, lifting, conditioning, I'm very big on breathing, because I'm thinking about how can I get my body in the most optimal space to get a certain movement, as close to perfection as I can. And but on game day, it's 100% different. Like, I want to say I work hard, but we all work so hard throughout the week, as pro athletes, as football players. And, we put in so much work throughout the work week. And, a lot of people don't see that, and probably will never see it. But, once you get to Sunday, it's different, because you in yourself, deep down in yourself, that you've done everything that you can to prepare for that moment. And the only thing I can describe it as is just supreme focus. It's like, once I put that helmet on, I'm just like, I'm in this zone where everything is focused on the now, and I have nothing else to worry about. And that's me on game day. It's been that way since college. I'm not sure when I developed that, but I've been, for every game, no matter what, I put that helmet on, and I don't know. You may say I'm different. I don't know. I'm different, because I don't do that for practice. But on game day, I'm different.
Yeah, well, everybody needs an activation device, you know what I mean, to kind of flip the switch from living in the street, or, being normal, and or practices are different, because you can't bring that same game day vibe. And so having some form of activation to kind of flip that switch. And I will just say this, and I don't know, I never noticed this before, but this year, like, when you come out of the tunnel, you have a physical demeanor, because you're all jacked up. You're kind of like shaking, and, the high five and all the guys. And maybe you've done that every year. And I've just been looking at George. I don't know, but, I might have missed it, but I just like that exuberance and excitement for the game. So once you put the helmet on, and then, after all the warm-ups and shit, and then, it's like, when you guys come out there to join the rest of the team, it's like, that's the real pregame. And when I see Laken coming out, and you're almost like a little kid, you know what I mean? But yet a big kid, that totally dialed in and focused. It's pretty fun. That gets everybody jazzed up.
At the end of the day, we're just, grown men playing a kid's game. And if you're not having fun playing this game, then what's the point?
None.
I love that. Like,
Good. Mike, that's a mic drop right there. So,
Mic drop.
okay, well, good. Maybe we'll talk more about that because the focus piece. Okay, then George, lead us. Fashion preview review.
Ooh, fashion preview. Real quick, one more thing to touch on. Because you said like it's hard to the intensity that you have on game day. It is hard to replicate that on practice because it's very draining and like I don't know. Like there's also like a level of I don't want to say like blacked outness, but like you get into this zone where, especially like when you're a physical player and your job is to like physically manhandle other human beings, specifically grown ass men, and then try to flat back them or to not let them go from point A to point B. Like you're trying to kind of kill them in a sense. I mean, it's a full body sumo wrestling match and you can't do that at practice because will really hurt. Like you'll hurt people. And so like, it's not that like, hey, you just got to have that mindset, but tone it down a little bit. It's a much more controlled environment where like you're like way more focused on doing everything because then once you do it 100 times, then when you put the helmet on game day, it just all happens. But like that's one thing that it took me a little bit in the NFL to realize that was like, hey, I have to I have to play at a high level in practice, but like the difference in NFL is so different to me than like game day versus practice as in like college was.
Yeah, I mean like in practice throughout the week, you're going through the installs, you're going through all the plays that you're trying to learn for that week and seeing how all the plays are going to mesh together and, you know, going through Kyle's menu that he draws up every week. And, you know, the practice preps you for the game and you put all your mental energy into these practices because you have to learn the installs and learn to put yourself in the best position to have a successful play. But on game day, you already know that. You know that. So there's nothing to worry about, nothing to think about. You just go play.
You lock it in and you focus up.
You focus
and
up.
you get back, baby.
And then in a way you don't have to focus because it's already there.
There.
It's already there.
You just kind of let go and let your body and mind do what you've been trained to do. So
now, Dad, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. We're at the best part of the show, the fashion preview. Everyone's favorite part of the show.
Let's go.
Lake, I'm going to let you present first. You are we talked about a little bit before the show started, you're a suit guy on road trips, and you said you had some surprises for us. Like, what'd you bring down? What do you want to share?
Okay, so I went and got this from the closet. So I got me the suit right here. So you can see it.
Ooh. The black details.
The patterns in there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's really nice.
It's
so I can't tell you what material it is, but I can tell you it feels great.
Excellent.
I think that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
And I look damn good in it. So
damn true, baby. I love it.
All right.
That's what I got. What you got, George?
All right. So, like, I'm a sneakerhead. I wear a lot of sneakers. This is a pair. I let Claire pick them out. This is what she chose. I don't know if I'm going to wear these this week, but I'm excited about them. They're Jordan 1s. These are the Union collab. I've actually never worn these. I've had these for like 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I think I've had them since 2019. I've never worn them. I wear the gray pair more often, but I absolutely love them. It's like
my God,
white laces and they're mixed. They go half and half. I love the red top. I think it's just a very striking shoe. I think it's beautiful. The Jordan 1s are some of my favorite sneakers. Blue bottoms. I love everything about this shoe, and I'm waiting for like a really good game to break them out for.
I'm about to say, like, those are one of the shoes you just like put in like a
case,
case, and just put it away.
I know.
Oh my God,
I'm excited. I'm excited to break these out someday. So I might have to whip them out in Seattle. I'll
Laken, all his sneakers are in cases.
I have two complete walls.
The whole wall is full.
I have 2 walls of sneakers now. Thanks, Claire.
That is fantastic. I have trouble finding sneakers because my shoe size is,
what do you wear? What size?
I'm a size 17. So it's very difficult for me to find good shoes. But I do find some.
How often do your 2 toes get stepped on?
A lot more times than you think.
Well, I mean, like, because I'm a couple times a game max.
Yeah.
If I'm really in luck, like most of the time I go like with like maybe 1 foot gets kind of stepped on.
Yeah.
But like I've had games where it's been like 4 or 5 snaps. Like I've gotten a Trent Williams like full step outside zone planting going upfield before, and it just crippled me.
See,
I got you remember Trent Brown? One of my first snaps like to Trent Brown, he like was patting, and I was off his back hip, and he just set out and just stepped on my foot and then redirected, and I thought my career was over.
oh my God. See, Trent Brown to me is what you are to Trent Brown, because and also with Trent Williams as well. You can ask Trent tomorrow. He hates it when I step on his feet. Hates it, and he'll give me so much smack talk about it, especially when I wear my cleats to walk through. He hates it.
Oh, hey, like because on that, like McGlinchey wears cleats to walk through, and Mike takes some deep sets sometimes, and Mike does walk through like the first 3 steps, and his punch are live, like they are 100% live reps, and like we do all these motions behind him, like where we time up with a snap. And I'm not lying, like in back-to-back walkthroughs, I think we were doing Philly. We hiked it, and both times his back right heel came up so high, it clipped me in the kneecap and just took me out. And I'm going like 60, 75%.
Right.
But like, dude, when you get hit with a cleat, that's just, it's the worst. Like, what do your shins look like after a game? Just
really? Yeah, they're pretty beat up after games. I mean, hey, you know how it is in the trenches.
Dude, like there's just feet everywhere.
Everywhere.
Wow.
Okay, we got to roll this on. Okay,
yeah, sorry, we're not
going to do much football. I'm just going to summarize. If you guys want to say something, you can. Obviously, playing Seattle this week. It's game 2 with those guys this season. Niners 6-5 beat Vikings last Sunday 34-26. Seattle 3-8 lost to. I almost said it's WFT, but like what the anyway, 15-17, missed a 2-point conversion on about the last play of the game. So Vikings, nice hard fought win. We've already kind of talked about some of the keys of the game. Run game was good. Jimmy made some key throws, not too many turnovers. The defense played really well. There were some very aloof holding allegations by head coach Mike Zimmer. Someone somewhere told him just to tell his players to make some better plays. You guys can comment on that later if you want to, but it's gotten a lot of activity. So apparently that player and Coach Zimmer have some off-season reconciliations to work on. But looking at the Seattle Seahawks, teams have played 46 times. Seahawks lead the series 29-17. And I only got this, but Seahawks have won 16 out of the last 19.
That's a lot.
It's brutal. But last Niner victory was in Seattle, December 2019, on the road to the Super Bowl, 26-21. If you'll recall that goal line tackle. Who made that tackle? I can't remember now. Was that Greenlaw?
The law.
Yeah.
The law.
Baby. Unbelievable. I mean, that was unbelievable. So that was so much fun being at that one, because we were sitting right in the middle of a bunch of Seahawks, and they were motherfucking us the whole game. And that baby was over. We were talking some smack. Anyway, I wasn't, but Claire was. You better talk to her about that.
I was going to say, weren't you with Claire?
Yes. Anyway, but the 2 other games were decided by 7 and 3 points respectively. So it's always a tight game, and Russell always pulls out his best. So 3-8, still dangerous. Obviously, great receivers, and Russell Wilson. You never know what he's going to be doing, and obviously they're not feeling good about where they're at. So that's a summary. I know you guys are just getting started with your week, putting it together. Any comments on the game coming up, Seattle, or George? You want to say anything about Coach Zimmer?
No, I'm good I'm focused on the Seattle Seahawks.
Good.
I don't care what the Seahawks record is. They could have 0 wins, and this is still going to be the hardest game of the season. Yep. And every time it is with the Seahawks. I remember in 2019, we were supposed to steamroll them, and none of us we were like, no, we're not. Like, it's no matter what we do, like they always, like, they're a team similar to us where they give 100% effort on every single play. There's no loafs. They're flying around. They want to make plays. They want to win football games, and they believe in their system. So it's going to be a hard game. Like, I don't care what the records are or anything like that. Like, we're going to get everyone's best shot. And then when you're going against a guy like, Bobby Wagner. I mean, he's incredible. He makes that defense go. Jamal Adams makes that defense go. He does a lot of unpredictable stuff. They got, Quandre Diggs is a really good player. They got guys all over, and they have some weird statistical rankings and stuff like that, like they're last in yards given up and stuff like that. But they're top 10 in red zone defense. They're top 10 in I think points allowed. They're top 10 in all these categories that were top 10 in third downs. They're top 10 in all the categories that really matter. So yes, they give up a ton of yards, but no one really scores on them. And if you look at their last games, like they don't really give up points. They've lost a lot of games, but all the games they've lost, nothing's really been a blowout or anything like that. And then, I mean, I don't know anyone that's why I would count Russell Wilson out. He knows how to win. I mean, he can orchestrate a scoring drive in 3 plays. Like I think they had like a 90 something. Yeah, I mean they had like a 75 yarder in 3 plays to tie the game against Washington or something like that. Like they know how to score. They have players that can do it, from Metcalf to Lockett. Like they're good players. Like there's guys all over the team, and gosh darn it, I can't wait for this one.
Excellent. All right, Laken, anything you want to add, or is that?
No, I'm about to say ditto, man. You got it on the money.
Thank you. This is not a game. This is not a game that we take lightly by any means. And like you said, like that 16 out of the last 19, that just pisses me off. And so, like this is a week. I know it is what it is, and the only way to change that is starting, the work we put in today and the work we put in tomorrow, and then the opportunity we get on Sunday. So we're locked in. The team has a good vibe right now. We know this is going to be a gritty week, and we're looking forward to it. And I will say this: I do love playing in Seattle. It is a great stadium. They've got such loud fans, and you can hear the passion of hate from the stands at all times. And that's what football's supposed to be. It really is. You're supposed to love your team and hate everybody else, especially division rivals. And they do a great job of that. And so I'm excited to play there again.
I'm jacked. I can't wait. All right, cool.
All right, well, then last category, baby. Let's go.
Wrapping it up. Okay, so service and giving back. So we're always, so part of the podcast, we donate. And so this year we're donating to the charity picked by our veteran who's on the other portion of the show. And so we'll be doing that. And both of the organizations he's selected are veteran support kind of teams and all that kind of stuff. But so just checking in with you, Laken, what was the role of service kind of growing up? And I'll just say, I was just looking, the things I did, you were always big on the My Cause, My Cleats. You've done the National Alliance of Mental Health or Mental Illness. And so just kind of curious, what's the affinity with that? Why is that important to you? And are there any other causes or that kind of stuff that you're involved in?
Yeah, I mean, since I've, when I got to Duke, Coach Cutcliffe was really big about giving back. And that was just something that was instilled in me, as, freshman year in college. So, I was really, really good about giving back. We did everything for charity. We did everything that we could outside of the football to help our community. And I just kind of kept that with me, when I got into the league. And, my wife and I, Rachel, we looked into ideas, how we can best support our communities. And when I first got drafted, I kind of came up with the idea of creating the Laken Tomlinson Foundation. It's a foundation, just to help children in environments of need. So we did that when I first got drafted, and then when I came to the Niners, I kind of asked Rachel. I was like, "Hey, what's a good organization I can support while I'm here?" And she got together with her cohort and actually recommended NAMI back in 2018, and ever since I've been representing NAMI every year. And it just goes to kind of like our core beliefs. Like my wife, Rachel, she is actually getting her PhD in clinical psychology in Michigan. So, mental health is it's really important to our family. And, I'm truly honored to represent NAMI every year, and I will represent NAMI every year in my career.
Well, it's really interesting. I already talked about some of the ways in which our shows overlap this week. So, the one theme that Ed wanted to make sure is that we talked a lot about it's okay to not be okay, and trying to remove the stigma about asking for help and making it okay to kind of have those conversations. And then we talked a lot too about being not too self-critical or self-judgment, a lot more grace, leading with a little bit of loving kindness for yourself and others. And also, as we encourage other people to kind of reach out and maybe support people and to ask questions, to realize that it's normal to feel a little awkward about doing that, and it's not the easiest type of conversation. So just a lot of grace, but we're really trying to take the lid off mental illness, depression. We've seen the NFL film or, commercials with Joey Bosa talking about, some of the issues he's faced. Lane Johnson's come out recently. So the NFL, I think, is doing a lot more about at least raising the issues and trying to take that. And obviously with our friends in the group that we're working with, MVP, Emerging Vets and Players, that's their whole point, is dealing with the PTSD, giving people support, helping them as, they try to transition after combat arenas and/or from being in the military. So very noble cause, and we're certainly very supportive of it. We talked a lot in our segment that one suicide is too many, and doing everything we can to make sure people can reach out and find help and get access to that. So that is a great cause, and that's super. So we thank that. Anything else you want to mention about that, or any other organizations you're plugging, or anything else?
No, I mean, all I can say is, a lot of people, don't think that football is like this, this tough guy sport that, you got to be a super tough guy, Superman to play this sport. But, your mental health is actually a really big part of, maintaining in the league. When they say NFL, not for long, right? So, what goes into that? What can you do to play in this league for a long time? And a lot of people, I think that really don't realize is that your mental health can take you such a long way in this league, and taking care of yourself mentally can, solidify yourself in so many ways when it comes to being a professional athlete, not just football, but like in any pro sport. So I think that it's definitely, I kind of like the way our league is, taking the approach to mental illness and, promoting mental health throughout the league. And I think that the campaign that, especially with my Calls, My Cleats, and allowing guys to, show, their support for any group, not just mental illness, but any organization. I think that's a really cool deal.
Okay.
I love it.
Well,
Georgie, I get to start the last one.
Okay.
Laken. So our show, we always wrap it up with a question that we ask our guest. So the question is, where is the hope? Which is like, what's something, whether it's today, whether it's, this month, this week, that is giving you hope, like that is giving you hope for whether it's the game this Sunday, whether it's for your family, whether it's for, society, like what's just something that you look back at and like, hey, this is, something that gives me hope on this day. I mean, I'll give you an example if you want me to.
I'm gonna, sound cliche, but I mean, if you know me, you know me, but I'm going to say, my daughter Taylor Rose. There's never a bad day, coming home, to a little girl, running and hugging you and saying dada, and I feel extremely lucky. I'm so lucky to have such a beautiful, young, beautiful, crazy girl who loves to run around and loves to climb and loves to meet new people. But she literally is my hope. She is my hope. She is my hope. She really is.
That's awesome. Like,
pretty cool.
I'm excited to be a dad whenever that day does finally come. But yeah, that Claire, everyone wants a baby.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a good one, Lake. That was awesome. Let's see. Now it's my turn. Something that gives me hope. Let's see. Something that gives me hope. I don't know if I talked about this last week, but last week we did the Thanksgiving drive with the Niners, and we got to partner with Second Harvest, and we had, let's just say 30 players come out, and hand out like full Thanksgiving meals to several hundred cars. Like we were there for 2.5, 3 hours. But just seeing from like my teammates or the fact there's an organization that helps people, especially in the holidays with food, and then the teammates that came out to support this. And then the fact that it's the organization that puts it on and I'm a part of that organization and they're so focused on giving back. And we're part of so many, like every Tuesday, there's a community service event. It's about for someone different. And the fact that they're so big and like they do these big ones in the holidays, it just warms my heart. And it makes me really excited that I'm a part of an organization and a part of a team that puts so much time and energy and effort and money into helping back and helping the community. So that gives me hope.
There we go.
Very cool. Well, Em and I, we already did ours with our vets, so those you'll have to stick around for those. So, all right, Lake. Well, appreciate you, man, very much. This was really fun. It's good to get to know you. Smart dude, amazing wife, beautiful daughter, great football player, humanitarian, and you got a cool mom. So that's pretty good stuff. So,
I think we should make a trip to Jamaica. How about that, guys?
Let's go.
maybe we need to do like American football camp down in Jamaica, like some flag football or something.
See, that's a really good idea.
Actually, you know why I said that? The high school that I coached at, I did the O-line at 2 years ago. But anyway, when we first moved to Nashville, and one of the guys I worked with is from the Bahamas. And they do a flag football league for underprivileged kids in Nashville that we've helped. But he wants to take that to the Bahamas because his family's still down there. And so we've been kind of talking about how to try to figure that during the off season. My geography's terrible. Are the Bahamas and Jamaica even close? Is that a thing?
Caribbean.
Yeah, aren't they? Yeah, okay. So I don't know. Maybe that'd be a kind of we make a little swing with a few guys and present that, and then do some charity work or something. That'd be pretty cool.
There we go.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
Anyway. All right, well, Lake, take care, stay healthy, and can't wait to, we'll be waving for you and cheering for you. I can't wait to see you run on the field again on Sunday. All right, Lake, take care. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much.
All right, yep, Lake, thank you.
Tell Rachel hi.
I will. All right, guys, good night.
All right, Hidden Pearls podcast fans, welcome to the next segment of our show. We are super excited to have with us our guest, another MVP member, this time from Seattle, and a huge Seahawks fan, Sergeant Major, retired, Ed Hall. So welcome, SGM Hall, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great.
Of course. So excited to get into this. Okay, so Sergeant Major Hall was born in Paola, Kansas, Flatlands, here we go, and graduated high school in Sacramento, California. He spent 3 years working as an electrician before he enlisted in the Army in September 1999. He completed basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, then attended advanced individual training, AIT, at Fort Gordon, Georgia, where he was the Distinguished Honor Graduate for the Multi-Channel Transmission Systems Operator Maintainer course. Before we started this interview, we were actually getting a whole vocabulary list of everything. So if I butcher things, y'all, I promise I am trying my very best. I have a whole vocabulary list next to me. Okay, of acronyms. All right, so then he attended basic parachute course at Fort Benning, Georgia, where he was the enlisted honor graduate, after which he was assigned to Bravo Company 82nd Airborne Signal Battalion. He served in the 82nd Airborne Division from May 2000 till March 2002. While assigned to the 82nd, he attended Air Assault School. Sergeant Major General Hall attended Special Forces Assessment and Selection in October of 2001 and was selected to attend the Special Forces Qualification course. He graduated SFQC in 2003 and was assigned to Operational Detachment 195 3rd Battalion 1st SFGA as Senior Weapons Sergeant. Getting these acronyms, let's go. All right, so as far as trainings, anything and everything that you can imagine, and it is all listed in detail, as we're going to say. So deployments on and off from 2005 to 2019, including Iraq 2 times and Afghanistan and many others. From 2008 to 2013, SGM Hall was assigned to ODA 1136 SECO 1st Battalion 1st SFGA SFGA, a senior weapons sergeant from 2008 to 2009, then the team sergeant from 2009 to 2013. From 2013 to 2015, SGM Hall served in several capacities with the Special Forces, including NCOIC and Group Operations Sergeant. From 2015 to 2018, he was assigned to 4th Battalion HHD and served as First Sergeant General or 1SG, as well as Future Operations Sergeant Major. And so, Pops, why don't you take us through some of his awards and decorations?
I will be glad to do that. All right. So just a couple of things of those awards and decorations. So Legion of Merit, 2 Bronze Star medals, 2 Meritorious Service medals, 3 Army Commendation medals, 3 Army Achievement medals, Military Outstanding Volunteer Service medal, Special Forces tab, Combat Infantry's badge, Military Freefall Jump Master badge, Master Parachutist badge, Special Operations Dive badge, Air Assault badge, and various campaign unit and service awards. His foreign awards include Royal Netherlands Army Parachutist badge, Philippine Army Novice Parachutist badge, Malaysian Parachutist badge, Royal Thai Air Force Skydivers badge, Royal Thai Army Airborne Wings, Royal Thai Army Balloon Parachutist badge, Cambodia Parachutist badge, the Canadian Basic Parachutist badge, and the Australian Army Commando Parachutist badge. It's a lot of parachuting. Holy cow. You sent us a picture hopping off of the backside of that one plane, so we'll make sure that we load that one as well. So lots of stuff going on. So Sergeant Major Retired Hall retired from the military on February 20th, 2020. After retiring, he helped found the nonprofit organization Leaving the Sideline, started online personality use platforms to mentor and reach people with a positive message of unity and normalizing the need for mental, behavior, and emotional help. All of that is somewhat on hold right now as he is the primary caretaker for his wife of 18 years, Tanya, and we will talk more about that, who is in stages of brain cancer right now. So our heart and prayers are with Ed with that. So we're grateful for you to be with us, Ed. A couple other things here. Earned an associate degree in general technology from Pierce College, Washington. Enjoys coaching his children, youth football, and doing charity work. Married to Tanya, that we've talked about, and they have 3 kids: Eddie, 16, Joey, 12, and Tyler, 9. And there's lots more to the story, which we're going to fill in right now. So, Sergeant Major, great to have you on the show, and really appreciate it given everything that you're dealing with right now. So we are very grateful to you for taking time to be part of our show. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I am so appreciative just to be a part of this. I think what you guys are doing is amazing. Emma, a great job going through there, especially as your second time. I can't believe I missed this. It's 3 trips to Iraq, but and I almost didn't want to say that just because as like you're going through my awards and badges, I'm like, oh man, I just sound so annoying to like soldiers listening there. So I almost didn't want to make that. Yeah. So, but great job, mate. You know, for someone who doesn't know the acronyms and trying to get through that was awesome.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you told us. I mean, that's part of your story, and you would have had to tell us later when we get into that.
Right.
But let's start at the beginning of the story, right? So born in Kansas, but graduated high school in Sacramento. So how did you get from Kansas to California?
So yeah, when I was young, we moved around a lot. I think in like, you know, the 12 grades of schooling, I went to 12 different schools. And a lot of times people just assume that I was from a military family, which I wasn't. We were just poor. And so my mom's original family was around the Missouri, Kansas area. And so, you know, that's where the first part of my childhood took place. And so it's Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas. And then eventually my mom moved out to where her sister was located in Sacramento, California. And that was around 89, I think. And so I was still fairly young. And so that's how I ended up in Sacramento. And that's where I ended up joining the Army from.
So moved around a lot. We kind of hopped around a lot too. BK moved us around a lot. We did a lot of interesting things. So I feel that. What was family life growing up for you?
So it was pretty crazy. just like I said, we were extremely poor. And this is something I didn't realize when we lived in the Midwest. I didn't realize it until I was a little bit older. We lived in Sacramento, but being on welfare, and then there were times where because for most of this time, my mom, she was single, raising 3 boys and a daughter. And so there were times that, we slept in one of her friends' vans in a driveway, just waiting for some type of government housing to be available. There's, I remember being put up in a motel room while she was waiting to get whatever funding so we can get an apartment. It's just, but other than that, a pretty normal childhood. Unfortunately, when you're in the more low income areas, that drugs become a problem. And I had brothers that fell into that kind of trap, and luckily I didn't. But it led to, at the age of 16, I ended up going into a special type of self-studies program to finish high school. And it was because I was asked to move out of my mom's house. My older brother had gotten out of jail, and I was more responsible. And so she had a 1-bedroom apartment, and so I got a job as an electrician with my older brother at 16, or my oldest brother. And the program, it was at Encina High School, and I would go once a week, and I would get like a full class for that week. Like, it'd be history or whatever. And I would be on my own to study everything, to write the reports. And then the next week I went to class, I would take a test, or I would turn in my reports, and I would take a test on it and test out of that subject. And I did that so that I could have the full-time job as electrician, and, end up getting an apartment with one of my coworkers. So I could, kind of provide for myself and not be that extra burden on my mom. And yeah, I did that until, I was 19, almost 20. And this is before 9/11. So 9/11, I was already serving when the 9/11 happened. It didn't play a role in my deciding to enlist, but myself and my oldest brother, one day after work, we were talking, and from just stories we heard, because we didn't know much about our heritage, but we were told that somebody in our family had served in the U.S. military in every generation until ours, right? And so, like, my grandpa was a Marine, my uncle was a Marine, and going further back. And so we were talking, and we're like, yeah, no one served from us, from our brothers. And so we're like, hey, let's do it. Let's, and plus it kind of get us away from this situation, and I was looking at the college aspect, and like, yeah, let's go do a 4 years of service and come back, and we could be proud of what we did. And we were just like a month out from leaving, and he backed out, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go anyway. So, best decision I ever made.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was just flipping back before the enlistment, that whole kind of your family situation with the brothers and your sister and your mom and everything. And so, do you look back on that? And I mean, that had to shape you in some kind of ways. What kind of lessons, as you were entering the military, or, doing the electrician gig? I mean, kind of where were you at mentally right there? And like, what things did you learn from kind of growing up with your family in that way?
So yeah, I definitely learned. Well, first and foremost, I want to say that was my first insight into how absolutely amazingly strong women can be. Because my mom, for her to go through everything that she went through, and to raise us, and to do everything she could to provide as well as she could for us, on her own, I just, that right there just gave me such a huge respect for women. One that I've carried on till today, and I hope to pass on to my kids. But that was like first and foremost, just amazingly strong person. And I do believe a lot of my internal strength comes from her. And then, for my brothers and all their faults, and been through, been to jail, been to prison. I'm sure you guys heard of Folsom Prison. They've been there. I do think I got some. I learned some very valuable lessons from them as well. Like I said, for all their faults, they also had some really great traits, and one of those was defending people who couldn't defend themselves. Mm-hmm. And I just remember a story. I remember this time we were sitting watching the 4th of July parade go by, and I'm young. This is in Sacramento. And as the parade's going by, there was a small Asian group, display within the parade going by. And they were somewhere between 17 and 20, just annoying a-holes. They were known for the area just being that kind of little criminal element and drugs and all that stuff. But they rode their bikes through the parade and making fun of this group as they went through. And my oldest brother, he decided to teach them a lesson. He established dominance and ensured that they understood the lesson that he had to teach. I guess is the best way to put it. Okay. And then there were many times, when I witnessed them, like I said, defending people who couldn't defend themselves. And even though there were times where they would beat on me as their younger brother, there were a lot more times where they defended me. So that is definitely an aspect that I took with me, going forward in my life.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So of all your siblings, which one of you is the toughest?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, man, because I'd like to say it's me. Just, I have a nice resume, but my God, my older brothers were, they are tough as hell. I haven't heard from the one. So I have one who's 3 years older than me. My cat is trying to knock everything down. And another one who's 3 years older than him. And yeah, they were tough as nails. They are, I haven't heard from, like I said, the middle one, since I got married, I think. But yeah, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I'd like to say me, but man, I watched the one who's 3 years older than me. I watched him wreck 3 people by himself because they were picking on us, and they were all about his age. And by himself just took it to these guys. So yeah.
There you go. Well, dosing out a little bit of justice. All right. Well, then, so you decide to go, your brother backs out, and then I've got, the various Army trainings, and there's just like bookloads of it here. But anyway, you went through basic, then you had advanced, we got the parachutist and the air assault school, and then eventually entered into the entry level stuff with the special forces around 2001. But, kind of that chunk of stuff you did before special forces, kind of, can you, as you went in, I think you said 20 or so, somewhere in that age group.
Yeah.
So how did all the training, how did all that stuff hit you as a 20-year-old, in that time frame, going through all that kind of advanced training as you were leading up to putting your name in for Special Forces?
So like from the start, and as I remember writing the letter to my mom from basic training. From the start, I knew this is where I was supposed to be. I felt just right in place. And I tried stepping up for every bit of leadership I could. And it just felt natural to me. And what's funny is, and I still know some people that I went to basic training with, and, if you were to ask them, are you surprised that, that Ed ended up where he did, they would tell you no, not one bit. And it's just, like I said, it felt so natural to me. But I was surprised by how easy it was in the beginning. And this is, like I said, this is basic training, not going into the Special Forces training. And how easy it was for me and not other people. And that's one thing, as we learn in life, that everybody handles things differently, and we're not all given the same level of athletic ability. Everybody's given different, things they're good at. Because I just remember, it was like the first night we're there, and when you got there, you went through something called reception, where you were there for 3 days to a week just in processing before you actually started basic training. We got our head shaved and we got our shots, and that's about all that had happened that first night. And we ate, and I remember sitting in the bunk bed, and there's a kid just a couple of beds down, and he's crying. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And someone's like, he misses his family, leave him alone. I'm just like, my God, man. And so for me, that was, but he was a kid. He was 17. And that was something, as a 20-year-old, it's not something that I was mature enough to realize, like, hey, he doesn't have, he hasn't had the upbringing you've had. He doesn't, this could be something that's extremely hard on him. And then while I was in the 82nd Signal Battalion, because it wasn't infantry basic, and a lot of people who go Special Forces are infantry, and they have that. And so I wasn't, like I said, when I got to the 82nd, I wasn't infantry. And so I was always at the top of, I won every competition, all, top of the physical fitness. And then going to selection, that was one of the most humbling, going to selection and the Special Forces qualification course. That was one of the most humbling things that, happened to me in my young life, because I went from being among the best to realizing that everybody around me was like me or better. And so that was extremely humbling right there. And I think that's like one of my most important just learning aspects from that initial part of going through it.
It's so it's so interesting you say that, because something that we talk a lot about with the other segment of our interview with our NFL guys is how the jump from college to NFL, it's like everybody is that number one player from the college teams. And so it's like everyone's big, everyone's fast, everyone's smart, everyone's dedicated, everyone's locked in, everyone's trying to compete and play at that high level, and so when you come in and you realize that you're just, you got a lot of catching up to do at that point. Like, first of all, like you said, humbling. I mean, that really checks your ego at the door. But I guess, what was your kind of mindset going into that, as you're kind of being knocked, I don't want to say like knocked back down, but like kind of this reality check, like for you to come up to the next level, it's going to take it took something else, right? And sometimes that's not necessarily like a physical thing or like being faster, being stronger. So what was the edge that you felt like you had to develop, or what was your mindset around that?
So yeah, my mindset during that, and this thing has helped me, this mindset has helped me through my entire life and through everything that that I've been through and that I will be, will go through. And there's no quit in me, you just be amazed what you can accomplish if you take quit out of the equation. And I just kept thinking to myself, from going to selection and they will take the best of the best and beat you down. You get beaten down physically, mentally. And just knowing that no matter what happened, they couldn't, there's two kind of mindsets I had. One was no matter what happened, they couldn't stop the sun from setting and they couldn't stop the sun from coming back up the next day. Right. And that was one thing that's just, life's going to go on. That was the whole point behind it. Life's going to go on. There's going to be a new day. And if life can go on, so can I. Right. And the other one it was just kind of a joking mindset, but it still kind of helped me out a little bit. And I think it helped bring things into perspective. And that was, I'd make the joke that I was like, I can't quit in the morning because it hasn't sucked yet. I can't quit in the afternoon because I'm just going to sit out there and look at everybody else who's still going. And I can't quit in the evening because it's already sucked. So there's no good time to quit.
Good.
That's a good one. Well, okay. So I want to ask, because when you were, in telling your story of how you grew up and how you were, kind of like by 16 really had to take care of yourself, would you say that you were already a leader coming in to this role or into basic training? Or do you feel like that was something, and it's interesting. I love the part about, how someone in your family had served and you kind of saw this as a role to step into. So did you feel like you kind of just like, we're pretty spiritual and yogic and energetic, but like, did you feel like there was a lot more support behind you and like, kind of just that like grounded, like I'm supposed to be here and this is my time to kind of rise up? Or what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. And my whole point for going special forces, because I honestly actually almost didn't go because of 9/11, right? And so I decided to go special forces because I felt like there was something, I had more, and if I had more, I could give more. And yes, I did have that. Like I felt like a leader from the start, right? It just felt natural to me. And what's crazy, like I said, I almost didn't go special forces because when 9/11 happened, we were coming out of the field. When someone in the military said they're in the field, that's they're out in the woods, they're doing training, stuff like that, right? So we were out, and we had been out for like 1 or 2 weeks, right, where we're out in the woods, and that's where we're sleeping. We're doing our army training, and every time I think of that, I think of Bill Murray, army training, sir. Have you guys seen Stripes? But so the morning of 9/11, and I'm at Fort Bragg in the 82nd. And like I said, I had already had my selection date set. It was for the next month. The morning of 9/11, we get out of the field and we're cleaning everything up. And that's when it happens, right? That's when 9/11 happens. And I remember I saw the second tower hit because I had, it was my turn to take a shower. I had gotten out of the shower, gotten a new uniform on, was getting ready to go back to the motor pool to continue to clean trucks, and walked into one of my non-commissioned officers' rooms and saw the second tower hit. And then we just pulled everything back out and prepared because, we all knew what it meant. And I called the recruiter, the Special Forces recruiter, and I said, hey, I'm not going to selection. I'm going to go jump into combat with the 82nd. And because I honestly believed everything they said, and because 82nd was 18 hours, you're going to be, anything happens 18 hours, you're going to be wheels up, you're going to be jumping into combat. And so I called it, like I said, I called the recruiter. I'm like, I'm not going to selection, I'm going to go to combat. And he's like, okay, I understand, man, I understand. He's like, but I tell you what, I'm going to leave you on the roster just in case. And I'm so glad he did, because we sat there for a month and I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, no, I'm going to selection because I have, like I said, I have so much more to give. And so.
That's a pretty cool story. Well, at least it sounds like the recruiter kind of knew, been around and kind of understood the how things work and thought there might be some space. So that's pretty cool. Well, good. Well, it turns out that was the right decision. So, Special Forces. So, you entered selection in 2001, accepted, and eventually graduated in 2003. And I just have to read this training list because, I mean, there's stuff in here, and we kind of touched on a little bit of it. And so, I don't know, you could probably also rebuild a Mack truck and replace transmissions and do everything else. I don't know. But, okay, Combat Divers Qualification Course, National Guard Marksmanship Training Center, Sniper School, Special Operations Target Introduction Course, Special Forces Advanced Target Analysis and Exploitation Techniques Course, Multiple Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat Courses, Military Free Fall Parachutist Course, Special Operations Forces Static Line Jump Masters Course, Military Free Fall Jump Master Course, and Military Free Fall Advanced Tactical Infiltration Course. There's your weapons sergeant, and when you do that, and because I know you end up being a Green Beret, I'm not quite sure when within the Special Forces training, when you get that designation. So I'm kind of curious about that. But I know at least you're a senior weapons sergeant, and then is that the process, or when you graduate, then is that considered Green Beret?
Yeah, so they changed the way the course is done, like through the years, they're always trying to revamp it to make sure that they are training the candidates the best way possible, right? We learn from combat, we learn from everything, and we adjust the training. But when I went through, you had selection, which was phase 1, and that's just you're getting your butt kicked for 21 days, and that's deciding if they want to actually select you for Special Forces training. That's not even part of the training. It's just, we're deciding we're going to allow you to attend the training. And then we went to phase 2, which was small unit tactics. And so now you're looking at, moving in a smaller squad size element. And what that did was it really kind of gave that baseline to everybody. Because like I said, not everybody who goes Special Forces started out as infantry, right? And so now we get that baseline tactics level. And then phase 3 was your military occupational specialty training. So you have the weapons sergeant, which was what I went because I couldn't stand being communications anymore. You have your communications sergeant, your engineer, and engineer, when I say that, it's anything from building houses to building explosives, and your medic, right? Your Special Forces medic. And they actually have a longer job course than everybody else, just because they have so much more to that they have to learn. And then after that, it was phase 4, which is called Robin Sage, and that was the accumulation of all your training, right? It's like, all right, we're going to take all your training and see how it applies in this training scenario. And then after Robin Sage is when we received our Green Beret, and that's the headgear that you wear. And then after that, you have language school, because everybody within Army Special Forces has a specific language. And then SEER school, survival, evasion, resistance, escape, right? And then you get your Special Forces tab, which is the tab, like if you see on this shirt, says Special Forces, and that's when you're actually fully qualified as a Army Special Forces, because Green Beret is just the common, what everybody gets. They get that from the movie Green Berets or from Rambo, and that's just the color of the headgear. But that's when you're actually fully qualified. For me, it was a little different because my language was Chinese, and that was taught out here in Fort Lewis, where First Special Forces Group is. And so I went through SEER school first, and then came out here, did my language. I was already assigned to first group, did my language. And once that finished, I was fully qualified and assigned to a team.
Okay. All right. Well,
Wait. I want to say, so
yeah,
so the very first one was Combat Divers Qualification Course. So
Yes.
like we are huge divers and love it. But also in, I can't remember what episode it was, but it was when we were against the Eagles. But Elliot, our guest that we had on for MVP, I don't know if you're still a diver or anything, but what he's starting like an organization in Florida, right?
Mhm.
Where different vets can come down and dive and just be together. And it's kind of like an extension of MVP in a way. But it's more like scuba and water based. So
That would be amazing. Oh my
just wanna
God.
plant
Yeah.
that seed. I know we want to go so bad. And so anybody who dives, I'm like, go to Florida.
Yeah.
Talk
It's
to
like,
Elliot.
so yeah, diving is amazing. I love to recreational dive. Even though I don't have my civilian certificates, they actually started granting that to graduates of the course, the class after mine. They started giving the PADI license to them. So, but with my Navy dive card, because the Navy controls dive operations, even though it's an Army school, and I was a diver within the Army, you still get the little Navy dive card. And I was able to use that to dive in Papua New Guinea, in Okinawa, Japan. But just understand that the Army ruins everything that you think is going to be fun, right? So if you're diving with the Army, you're not going to have fun. you got a nav board and you're finning for 3,000 meters. You're not sightseeing and you're trying to stay on course for 3,000 meters and you're tired as hell as at the end.
That's insane.
That
Well,
that underwater nav stuff it's hard.
so hard. So,
between-
so we're from Iowa, and this one time, so whenever we've gone diving, we've like gone to clearer waters and stuff. And so this one time, Bruce was like, "It's Father's Day, Em. Like, we're gonna go diving in Iowa." And I'm like, "Dude, it's gonna be disgusting. Like, why are you making us do this?" And he's like, "No, we just need to get back in the water. Like, come on, do it with me." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we go to this lake. It is straight brown, like cannot see my hands in front of me. So it's like, this is like my second time really diving too. So I have like full on anxiety. I'm like, but it's like, it's not even that deep. It's like maybe 15 feet. So I'm like, okay, I know up is right there because I can see the sun. Like it's not that bad, but like can't see anything else. Just
Yeah.
any like, I don't know. So thanks for that.
There's something too though, when after you get a little bit more comfortable, and I'm sure well, you may agree with this now. After you get a little bit more comfortable, I mean, even a dive like that can still be fun just because you're back in the water and you're back diving. And there's stuff that you get to work on again, right?
I sound like such a baby. All these people are gonna be like, "Get in the water, Emma." No, I mean, I agree. Like diving in general, I love it. And now the more that I do it, the more I see it as like the most epic meditation ever, right? So it's like 45 minutes of just focusing on your breath and not talking, and it's super badass. However, the muddy waters of Iowa, I don't think I shall return to dive. So that might have been a one and done.
Also, don't get me wrong. Like if people have never dived before and they're listening to this, once you start diving and you actually learn everything that can go wrong, and like Emma was saying, it's murky and it's hard to tell up sometimes, and if you shoot to the surface too fast, you're gonna you're gonna get messed up. And there's so much that can go wrong. It's like, okay, yeah, there is a level of anxiety. It's like, okay, this is not as fun, but yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah. Bruce, do you want to add anything to my dreamy Father's Day tale?
Well, I don't know. A rough day diving, as long as nobody got hurt, is still better than a day at work. I mean,
I knew you were going to say that.
Absolutely, though.
I still got my gear on, and I'm still in the water, and the water's my friend. It can always be challenging, and it's like climbing a mountain. I mean, you never know what's going to come. You got to be prepared for a lot of stuff, but that's kind of what I like about it. And there's just something, man, when you go under and blah, 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 and there you are. It's you in the water and your dive buddy, and the world is an oyster, so to speak, to be discovered. So,
or a little pearl.
Well, and I think there's something that reveal a hidden pearl.
Ah, there you go. Ooh, nice.
Yes.
I think there's something to what Emma said though. Is she said when you're in there and you can't talk. It's just your breath, and you're focusing on your breath. There's something to that mentally too. And just how that can. that could be great for your soul. So yeah.
Not talking. Yeah. You want to get good at not talking to people, learn how to dive.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we have a lot more to cover, so I have to keep us moving up the diving
Better get
topic.
rolling.
So let's, we talked a lot about deployments. I think I'm just going to give this a big old softball toss to you, and anywhere you want to take this, take us for a ride.
All right. So yeah, a lot of deployments.
Well, let's read them. Ed, I want to read these though, so
Okay.
people. I don't want to leave it out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I know there's a lot, but I just think people should appreciate kind of the service and your engagement. So 2005, 2006, Papua New Guinea, and then to Iraq. 2006 through 13, and these is just listing multiple times to the Philippines, apparently 3 rotations to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation New Dawn, multiple times to Cambodia, Australia, Guam, Korea, China, Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Burma, and Thailand. Also during that time period, you were in support of the U.S. Secret Service with personal protection of both President Bush in Iraq and President Obama in Indonesia and Burma. 2013 to 15, Special Forces, various duties. That wasn't quite as detailed, but I know there's a bunch going on there. 2015 to 18, deployed to Korea, Thailand, and you graduated from Joint Special Operations Force Senior Enlisted Academy. And then 2018 to 19, deployed to Afghanistan in support of Resolute Support Mission. So there's a whole bunch in there, and there's probably some stuff I didn't quite get all in there. But anyway, so that's the softball I'll toss up. So Ed, you've been all over the world, been in combat theater multiple times, led troops and all of those pieces. So, I guess we'll just offer up, like, what would you like to share with folks, knowing that we can't even come close to touching on all of that service?
First and foremost, just as I look back on all that time, I often just say, man, I was blessed with the opportunity to do everything that I got to do, right? But also, especially if you don't know, like, if you don't have a true understanding of what military families go through, look at that list of deployments, because it was 3 trips to Iraq, a trip to Afghanistan, the combat deployments, and Philippines. We were receiving combat pay, but it wasn't in combat. But to all those other locations, just deployment after deployment, there was a 5-year period where it was averaging 10 months a year that I was deployed, and that's why while we lived in Okinawa, Japan. So my wife is in another country, started with our oldest that we went there with, and we had 2 more while we were in Okinawa. But she is caring for my kids as I'm off playing soldier. So just the strain it takes on military families, it's just so much, and it's not something that we realize, especially as soldiers, that we're putting that hardship on our families. And then, through there's so many fun and cool stories. Like being able to go to Papua New Guinea, that's a place that not many people go. Doing the support for 2 presidents, man, that was just amazing. And there was one time where he didn't show up, where President Obama didn't show up, and that happened to be a pretty great trip, because we were stuck. We were stuck in Bali for 10 days at the Four Seasons. I had my own villa with a 10x10 infinity pool that overlooked the oceans. I surfed for 10 days because President Obama didn't show up. But then there's the hard parts, right? Man. And I don't often talk about, like, my like getting into combat and getting into gunfights and stuff like that. It's just not something that I care too much to cover. There's so many people who've done so much more than me and have, and just, so much their stories, I think, are the ones that need to be told. If I tell a story from one of my rotations, it's more anecdotal and kind of funny, like the first time I got shot at, and you never know how you're going to react when when you get shot at, and the rounds bounce right next to me. And my reaction was, I laughed and I was like, we're being shot at. Let's get off the street. And later that night, I was like, is there something wrong with me? Because that's not how you should, that's not how you should react. But the other hard thing, man, is losing people, right? I mean, that's the sobering part of service when you serve your country. Man, we didn't vote. We didn't choose for the country to go to war, right? Nobody, but it's going to happen. And so somebody has to step up. Someone has to do it. And man, just the incredible losses that we've had, in since 2001 have been staggering. And I would say the hardest thing for me, because I had lost friends, everybody I know has, but in my mind, it's a little easier to deal with. But I hadn't lost somebody I was responsible for until my last trip to Afghanistan. Man, I was the AOB South Sergeant Major, so I was based in Kandahar, and I had the entire southern area of operation of Afghanistan for special operations. I'm in charge of thousands of people. But the Green Berets that I'm charged with bringing home. So I'd made it 19 years, and on my fourth combat rotation in August 12th, 2018. I lost my first soldier, and that was tough, man. He he got hit by a secondary IED, improvised explosive device, or it was inside of a house. The first blast went off, and it injured the team's Afghanistan counterparts, the ones that they were, going on these missions with. And he went in to save them. It wasn't even a U.S. soldier, and got hit with a secondary blast. They brought him back. They sustained him on the battlefield. They brought him back to Kandahar for our level of treatment there. And I sat by his bedside. I communicated with him as much as he could communicate. He had a tube in his throat. I told him he was going to be okay, and I'd see him back at the States. And he passed on the way to Germany. It's that hit me harder than any friend I've lost. Just because I was responsible for him, so those are, that's when you think about that, and when you look back at combat veterans and what they've done, and what they've been through I think the point I'm trying to make, man, is realize that they didn't, it wasn't their decision for our country to go to war, but they stood up, and thank God they did, because we have so many amazing men and women that are willing to volunteer. We have the world's greatest volunteer army, and that people are not drafted into service. And realize that, they have been through things that nobody should ever have to go through. And it's all in service of our country. And whether you think that they don't serve for you or they do. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I answered the question properly or not.
Whatever, you're spot on, man. I guess what I just want to touch base on a couple of things that you said. I mean, just because one of the things that we are hoping to accomplish with our podcast and talking to the various vets that we've had on is just helping people really appreciate the sacrifices that are being made. And I think you made the one about the impact on families. And I was taken back to the beginning of our podcast when you were talking about your wife raising the kids to your mom. And, your experience about how tough and hard-nosed women can be and all the things that they go through. And I know that can go on both sides. Sometimes it's the female that's in the army or whatever. And, so it's not necessarily gender-based, but there was your wife kind of repeating that and taking care of things. And then you being absent, that's, you're not there doing the daily stuff, but at the same time, the sacrifice for family, that you're not present for some of those moments in life that a lot of us take for granted. And so that's pretty important. And then just all the travel, the 10 months gone, and then the various, in combat areas where you are putting yourself at risk and you are supervising people, and the impact that being in that situation for that length of time and on multiple occasions that goes through, and then the loss of friends that from other arenas, and then also this situation where you're the leader in charge and feel that particular responsibility for somebody and loses somebody, and so that the weight that carries as well. So there's a lot in there, Ed, and I just want to say thank you for sharing that with us. And I know that is just the tip of the iceberg of kind of stuff that we could probably talk about. But anyway, yeah. So no, you're spot on sharing all that kind of stuff, and I appreciate that very, very much. So thank you. I don't know, Emma, did you want to? Anything? Okay. Well, let's. I don't want to in any way, but we're going to kind of roll back to that. But and I guess the one thing. So we talked about your various service from 2005 basically to 19, and the various deployments, both in combat theaters and otherwise. But back in February of 2013, your wife was diagnosed with brain cancer. And you've shared some of that with us. Kind of 2013, after surgery and treatment, she was in remission. And then 2019, that original tumor came back. And so treatment, surgery again. I guess I just, that's another kind of layer of things that you were coping with throughout that entire time that you and your family were dealing with, both with the kids and your wife's health, and then trying to keep all those pieces together, and at the same time trying to fulfill your duties there. So I just, again, kind of just lift that up a little bit. And I don't know if you want to say a whole lot more, at least when you and I have talked about it through treatment as of August. What I understand is the doctors and such have basically said they've done everything they can do, and your wife's at home with you, basically in hospice. So we want to extend our love and support and prayers to you for that. And I don't know if you don't need to say anything at all. I kind of want to just add, the struggle that must also carry with you while you're trying to fulfill your various duties with the Army. So I don't want to cut you off at all, but if there's anything around that you want to offer, we invite you to do that.
Well, I'm not going to go too deep into it. It's too depressing, and man, I'd be a blubbering fool right here. But I do want to say, like I said before, when I said that my mom was like the original for the eye opener of how just amazingly strong women can be. I don't know anybody I've ever met stronger than my wife. And that's including every Green Beret I've ever served with. Man, she is so tough. And to know, just to give some idea as well, is when we were in Okinawa and I was deployed so much, you know, she had this tumor was growing, and they actually misdiagnosed it. She was having seizures and they misdiagnosed it as panic attacks. They didn't have the capabilities out there to really do anything. And so imagine just how strong of a person you've got to be to have your spouse constantly gone and to be raising a young child and pregnant, or raising a young child and a baby, and then raising a young child or two young children and pregnant and another baby. You know, it's oh my God. I have so much respect for her. And yeah, she was originally diagnosed, had brain surgery with the radiation, and she fought back, and she fought back for so long. She was originally only supposed to last 3 to 5 years. But yeah, just it's another thing to just realize that, you know, while we are going through this stuff, you know, that we have to go through in the military, we have our normal everyday lives that everybody else has as well, you know, and our everyday problems. So, but yeah, I think I'm gonna leave that with there. I'm praying to God that she makes it to Christmas for one last Christmas. But yeah,
You're good,
so, yeah,
man.
I'll leave it with that.
Yeah, all good. So, well, our prayers will be with you throughout, and we'll be praying for the same thing. And again, I thank you for sharing that. And I think it gets to the one thing that you and I talked about before that I guess is a message that we really wanted to get, in addition to kind of sharing just, you know, the realities of your life and all the things that you've done, is this notion that it's okay to not be okay. And I think that's a common theme that we've kind of gone through with the vets that we've had on and been a regular piece, is that you don't go through those things and come back as the same person. And what our society expects people to do is to come back, roll in, and hey, get a job or do this or do that and do all that kind of stuff. And again, we've shared the story. My brother-in-law was on, and just talking about when he came back, you know, he'd be riding in the car and they'd pull into a parking lot and he'd be yelling at his daughter not to get boxed in, and, you know, just, you know, things that you're used to in a combat setting, and just how long it has taken him to unwind from that, and it's still not kind of done. So, excuse me just a second. So I just, I appreciate that, but the reality is that, folks, when you come back, you're not the same, and it's not a normal. And so this notion about it's okay to not be okay. So this notion about the stigma about needing or getting help. So I just wanted to invite you to share a word about that. And just kind of your take on those pieces and some of the things maybe that you've experienced, and maybe some encouragement that we can offer to some other vets, maybe that if they're listening.
Absolutely. And that's so, God, it's so important, man. It's so important for me to say that. And that's why, because I, you know, ever since Nate Boyer, who is just a great friend of mine, hit me up about doing this, you know, and especially as my wife's health started getting a little worse over this last week, you know, there was anxiety. Like, oh, man, you know, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to? But there was something that's just so important to me, down to, you know, in my soul, and it's to let people know it's okay to not be okay. And I break it down for, you know, at least me personally, to mental, emotional, and behavioral health, right? My God, how big of industries is physical health? How much money do we dump into that? And will we just, we'll sit and read articles and go get advice and help every day so that we can look better? Why don't we do that with the important shit? You know, and that's why I want people to understand is drop that stigma that going to and getting help is weak. It's not. It's one of the strongest things you could ever do. And like I said, that's why it was so important for me to get on here, because hopefully, I mean, if there's some younger soldiers out there, and that's who I can speak to, but I in reality, anybody, man, if this speaks to anybody, please listen. But for me, I mostly identify with, people who've served or who are serving. God, if just one person just listens and says, man, if this guy who has a 20-year career as a Green Beret, who's supposed to be, Billy Badass or whatever, if he can admit that he needs help and he can go seek help, maybe I can too, and that's the big thing. Do it. And I personally advocate for professional help. I see someone every week, and I have no problem saying that. I see someone every week. But whatever you're comfortable with, just if it's talking to a friend, talking to a family member, talking to clergy, talking to somebody, but start that healing process, because that's so important. MVP is a great place to do it. But I can't say it enough how important it is. Start that process, because nobody's suicidal until they are, and I know I said that to you earlier today, because we were talking about some mutual experiences with our loved ones. Start that healing today. If you're willing to dump money into some protein powder or into some P90X or whatever program, put some time into your emotional, mental, and behavioral health.
All right. Well, amen to that. So, and again, I just, we will shout out. So, and, it's really interesting because, we parallel, because we do the NFL players, and the NFL over the last year to 48 months, they've come out with their own program. Joey Bosa's on a commercial. Lane Johnson came out just about their battles with depression and how it's impacted their lives, their families, and all that kind of stuff. And so from that reality through everybody else that we're not talking about, but then obviously with military veterans, especially with all the things that they've been through with PTSD and the other pieces. And I shared that on this show as a criminal defense lawyer. Probably 40% of my client base were all military veterans, all dealing with, and almost all of them were caught up in the criminal justice system as a kind of outlet because of various kind of mental difficulties they were struggling with after their service. And so a lot of issues there. So, well, then I just want to talk a little bit about, because there's a couple programs. So you mentioned MVP. So our audience is pretty familiar with that. We'll come back to that. You started a group called Leaving the Sidelines. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that. Oh, I'm sorry, Emma, go ahead.
I've been trying to chime in, but just a little in my feels over here. And I just want to say thank you for saying all of that and being on.
Thank you.
I can't imagine what it's like to go through that with your wife right now, and to have that kind of teammate watching her heart. So we will definitely be praying for you, and please send her our love. Tell her that we're thinking about her. And I guess also I just like everything you said about, getting help. I think, I work with a lot of private clients in doing like nutrition to yoga coaching and stuff. And something that has been really, a lot of them were kind of like talking about this week was, being like, oh, the holidays were hard, but that's just it. And like really being hard on themselves. And I think that's something that so many people are doing right now. And especially around, and I think it's kind of heightened during the holidays because like you're supposed to like have this super great time and you're supposed to be chilling out and you're supposed to be, everything's supposed to be happy. And for a lot of people, it's not. It's just this reminder of like how hard and painful life can really be and how separate we feel. And so I guess I just really want to pause and say, like, just if you can do anything during this time at all, just remember to be compassionate. Because obviously we have no idea what people are going through. And, not even if it's that one person, but even thinking about like the stuff that we carry around from our families and the stuff that we carry around from work. And, so compassion for other people, but then also like everything you said about getting help when you need it. I know that if I came up to either one of you, Ed, I know that we're just meeting each other, but to you or to my dad and was like, I need help. Like I'm really hurting. I know nobody would like judge me or make me feel stupid or anything, but we're so quick to be so awful to ourselves. And so I just want to remind everybody that if you're doing that, you guys can see how red I'm getting. But if you're doing that, I just really want to, extend first of all, give you a hug, but also just remind you that the same level of compassion that you feel so adapt to extend to other people, you have to give that to yourself. You have to give that to yourself, especially, during any time, but literally, especially during the winter when it's getting cold and we're not getting as much vitamin D and the chemicals in our body are actually changing so that we're more susceptible to depression and everything that's going on. So I just be fucking compassionate.
That's such a great point. Thank you so much for everything you just said, but for bringing that point up. And there's something so important that you said in there when you said you don't know what someone's going through. Right? You don't know what someone's going through. Not only that, but everybody handles things differently. What breaks me may not break you. Right? God, compassion is so important. And then like the other great point that you brought up is it is so hard to be compassionate to yourself. And it's and we still do it. I still do it every day. Every day I will suffer in silence. Even though I will turn around and give somebody else the advice that is needed. So you're 100%, and we need to remind ourselves every day. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. And just in the meditative world, right? A loving kindness practice that always starts sending loving kindness to yourself, because we can be so judgmental and so harsh and critical of our own lives, even while we might be compassionate to others. And so this holiday season, we're encouraging ho, 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 some loving kindness to the self. So give yourself that gift. And again, a reminder to anybody out there that if you can't find someplace to get help, our contact stuff's in there and you can send us a note. We are not those kind of professionals, but we will do everything we can to connect with you and get you hooked up with folks who can help. So
also, Bruce and I go to therapy every week. So
it's important.
Go to therapy. Go to therapy.
That's one thing I was doing. And it's not, I'm not trying to promote, my online stuff, because like pause doing that right now. But one thing I had started doing on my Twitch channel was called Friendship Fridays, and Fridays were devoted to a Zoom call, and the Zoom call was open to everybody, and we'd have a topic and we'd discuss, and it was starting to do so much good. And we talked about suicidal ideations. We talked about, how to get over loss. We talked about so many things that were great. And the unfortunate piece is, as my wife's health dropped, I couldn't continue. And that's why I put everything I was doing on pause, which as I recover, I'm going to start that again, because that's a big piece of who I need to be. And that's helping others. But like you said, you just said your contact information out there. Sometimes it starts with just talking to somebody, so yeah, start the conversation.
Well, when you do start doing Friendship Fridays, let me know, and I will blast that stuff. I will blast that everywhere. So
that would be amazing, and it would be amazing to if you could make an appearance on it, because and I was starting to have people on there, and it, like I said, it was when you have 35 people on a Zoom call talking about how what their struggles and healing, that's a powerful thing, so yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and I think I saw it in one of the questions, but we're going to talk about one of the hardest things in transitioning out of the military, and it's finding a purpose. And for me, helping others that's my purpose, and so I will eventually get back to it.
Well,
Okay.
We can help in any way.
Yeah.
You got us.
Well, we have Mindful Mondays, and so now we need a Friendship Friday. So
I
that
love it.
rounds out the week pretty good. Well, Ed, you brought it up, and so let's see. I have the date, February 20, 2020, retired from the military. And then, and you kind of talked a little bit about your purpose, but maybe let's transition then into talking a little bit about, whatever the things that you were dealing with. If we haven't talked about it, and there's anything you want to add, and then when and how MVP got into your life and how that's been helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been extremely difficult to deal with, like everything that I need to focus on as far as transitioning from the military, because the personal life has just eclipsed everything. And so, that's a huge piece, but like I just said, that the hardest part from transitioning though, because there was a short period where, even though my wife was back on or doing chemotherapy, during that time that I was retiring, there was still that hope and everything. So it was, finding my purpose. And because when you serve in the military, or even, and this is something that's common, and I've talked to, multiple NFL players, if you're a professional athlete or you're in a profession like that, you're given this purpose. If you're in the military, you're given this grand purpose, serving the country, and you have your missions. You're in the NFL, you're given your purpose. Go win games, win the championship, right? When that goes away, no one's given purpose anymore, and you have to find it. You have to, okay, what is my purpose? What's going to make me happy? And finding out what that is, that's a rough transition. And not a lot of people identify that, and I think I was lucky enough to identify it early on and say, if I'm going to keep going, if I'm going to keep this never quit ideal, how am I going to do that? And it's okay. Let's identify what is going to give my life purpose, because I need that has something that has to be identified now. I'm not being told what it is. And yeah, that's the biggest piece of it. And I kind of got off on a tangent. I forgot the second part of the question.
Oh, well, we were kind of leaning into MVP.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
Your purpose, and then how you got introduced to MVP and why that's been a good fit for you.
So, I've known, MVP started by, Nate Boyer and Mr. Glazier, right? And so, I've known Nate for a long time. We were actually in Okinawa, Japan for a small time at the beginning, like overlapping, but I didn't meet him when he was there, because he started in first Special Forces Group. And then I think he went to 10th before he got out and went to the National Guard. And that's, where his story started as far as football. But when he came up here and was at the Seahawks training camp, I was doing a charity event. And so I shot him. I got his contact information. I shot him a message like, hey man, I'm from First Group. I'd like to talk to you about getting involved with the charity group since you're here. And he was like, hell yeah, bro. And so I drove up and met with him. I actually took my two older boys up there with me, and it was great. My middle son, he's 12 now. Man, him and Nate are like, they bonded immediately. It was crazy. That's Joey, and he was just a little guy, and he had never met Nate before, but he's hanging all over him, and he just like it was like family instantly. It was funny. So much so that when Joey started playing football, he's been number 48. That was Nate's number when he, for the short time. And my son's been number 48 since, and it's just great. So I met Nate and we became close friends. And then prior to MVP, Nate was doing his water boy charity. And so I brought him up here and we did an event called Go Ruck. I was a cadre for that. And that's where they wear rucksacks or backpacks with weight in it. And they do, long walks and have somebody that was former special operations or current special operations cadre yell at them. Right. So I did one of those type events, but for charity. So everything that was raised was given to charity, and it was given to Nate's charity, the Waterboy Foundation. And like I said, that was just all a part of just, mine and Nate's relationship building. And then he started MVP, and he's been kind of telling me about MVP since then. And then as I got out and I started leaving the sideline, that's when I was like, man, we have the same mission, and we need to be working together because, this is ridiculous. And Nate and I were talking that way. And then I just recently went up to one of the MVP events that was held at Lumen Field. I hate that it's called Lumen Field now, but where the Seahawks play. And it was just the people there were just so amazing. And I needed it at that time. That was, that was right after my wife's second brain surgery. And my life is just falling apart. And there's veterans and NFL players who's going through similar things and who know how to talk to me, and I think that's the biggest thing about MVP is, man, when you have people who have shared experiences, there is a bond that happens so much faster, and so that's especially true with veterans. But like I said, professional athletes are very similar to veterans. We spend our lives trying to be at physical fitness peak, and we go towards this greater purpose. So to have people that have that shared experience and that you can bond with, and you start immediately feeling comfortable opening up to. And that's huge right there. Like I said, start the conversation. When I said that earlier, and having that group and they check up on me, if I miss one of the virtual meetings, because I can't drive up to Seattle. So we do virtual meetings, Wes with the Seattle group, he checks up on me. Luke Wilson, and when we have that in the notes to talk about later, former tight end for the Seahawks, he checks up on me. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. So, and then let's see. So we're kind of in that Luke Wilson was a former tight end with Seattle. He's part of MVP. And then I've got down to, you shared in 2019, the Salute to Service game. You sent me a picture of you waving the Seahawks flag as the team entered the field. This is all a little bit rough for us fans, but
I
it's
didn't
all
wave the
good.
Seahawks flag. It was the American flag. I carried the
Oh,
American
right.
flag.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. I mean, and just how meaningful that was, though. After you relocated to Washington and becoming fans and all that kind of stuff. So that's that part it's a great thing. So all good on that. And just speaking about being with it, I think I shared this with you, but we've got it set up so each week we send 6 members of the National Guard from the state wherever the game is. So whether it's Philadelphia or Florida or whatever. And so we've got 6 members of the Washington National Guard, and so you'll be your seats are connected to them, and so at least you'll have somebody else to kind of chat with a little bit.
That'd be amazing, and I look forward to to meeting them and talking, because like you said, there's going to be that shared experience, and there's going to be there will be an instant bond.
Yeah. So all good on that. And so we kind of talked about MVP, and again, most of our folks know about MVP, emerging vets with players. I'm just going to read their mission statement again, just if somebody's new, so they have it. Mission is to empower combat veterans and former professional athletes by connecting them after the uniform comes off, providing them with a new team to assist with transition, promote personal development, and show them they are never alone. And so and typically they have kind of a weekly in-person or Zoom kind of gathering with both veterans and then the former players who get a chance to kind of share those pieces. And often, at least the other groups that I've talked to, typically they'll do something kind of physical, a little workout kind of piece, and then they'll sit down and kind of have a share. So I guess I want to give you a chance too. You mentioned, and I mentioned it, leaving the sidelines. Do you want to just say a word about that piece, just kind of what you're trying to do with that?
So yeah, leaving the sideline, that was started right as I was retiring. Unfortunately, I had just gotten word that one of my friends, someone who I served with, I was the first sergeant, and he was the company commander. He had taken his own life, and this was one of the ones that just punches you right in the face. He served. He had an amazing career as an officer within the Special Forces. Got out, went into the National Guard, was continuing his career as a Special Forces officer, but also had a great career at Nike. And he was just the happiest person always. And so it was just out of nowhere. And one of my good friends, one of my brothers, who was retiring around the same time as me, he's a retired chief warrant officer, Mike Rathbun, and I call him Chief, just out of respect, and he hates it. But he called me, and he's like, we got to do something. And I was like, you're right. And also around that time, he was friends with former Seahawk and former Denver Broncos. Actually, he was, I think it was the 98 champions with Denver Broncos, but Hillary Butler. And then also George Foya. But Hillary Butler had posted this video about doing 22 push-ups for veterans, and Chief had hit him up and said, hey, man, that's all great that you're doing push-ups, but what does that do? And that started a conversation with them. And then we all got kind of brought into this conversation, and we're like, yeah, we need to do something. And so it was started with us four, and then another good friend of ours, Mike Goff, who is just a huge supporter of the military. And it was started from, hey, we got to do something, because we can't, push-ups don't do it. And we built this to do our best to provide assets to veterans, to veterans and athletes. And the whole purpose behind it was also non-attributional, right? So that's what the stigma that comes with, and you could say it all day long, your career is not going to be affected if you go seek mental health. Man, that's not it. you're not going to believe it and it's not how it was while I was in. And so to have a place, it was like, if we could provide, if we could bring in these behavioral health specialists, a network of them that we could say, hey, we have these people you can go talk to, and we found the funding for it. You can go talk to them and this is not something that's going to be attributional back to you, but you have someone to talk to. And so that's where that started. And man, there's actually been, and Chief has the numbers and he's really good at selling this better than I am, but there are, a lot of people that have had plans to take their own lives that are still with us today because they contacted Leaving the Sideline. And man, that's powerful right there, and so, yeah, it's something, like I said, you got to find a purpose, in your life. And that was something that right then and there, we knew that we had to do. And so, that's why we started. And that's also why, as we started going along, I'm like, man, this is almost exactly what Nate's doing. So we need to be talking to Nate.
Right. Well, very good. So we're going to, so our donation this week is going to get split between MVP and Leaving the Sidelines. And so we'll have kind of connections and Instagram and web links and all that stuff for folks in the show notes so they can, again, look up MVP if they need to, and or Leaving the Sidelines. So that'll be good. Is there anything else you want folks to know about Leaving the Sidelines? I don't want to cut you off on that kind of stuff.
No,
so
that's just the whole purpose, man, is one suicide is one too many.
Yep. So I guess too, just as we're trying to say it's okay not to be okay. And I guess if you or a loved one, either you're not feeling okay or somebody is not feeling quite okay, in a gentle, loving way, reaching out and doing what we can and helping people connect. So we will certainly try to share all those kind of pieces. So before I offer it to Emma to kind of.
Well, I just want to say also just like if the defensive line, right? So Solomon Thomas's family, Martha and Chris, they started an organization called the Defensive Line, and there's a ton of great resources about starting that conversation and how to be direct with someone, but also like to have that compassion and create a safe space. So I know that, some people having a mental health, some people having like an emotional conversation of any depth whatsoever is terrifying and paralyzing. And some people don't know what to say. And so to have one about suicide or depression or anxiety can be paralyzing and you have no idea where to start. And sometimes you're more afraid that you're going to, say something awful or wrong, and so I think for me personally, working with some of these organizations and getting to know them and hearing different stories, it's just given me words to use. And even in therapy, when I like talk to my therapist about something and she helps me to kind of like smooth out what I want to say and like how I, the ideas and the concepts that I have, because sometimes we just need the words to say those things and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we talk a lot on this podcast. And so words kind of just flow out of us, but I know that that's not always the case. And sometimes even for me, I get really choked up and I don't feel like I don't know what to say. And so I guess I just want to extend that. Like, if you don't know what to say, you're not bad or wrong, or that doesn't mean you shouldn't say anything or you're going to fuck it up. Like, it just means that maybe you need a little bit of guidance, and there is a lot of guidance out there. And so if that's something that you're interested in, or you feel like you need to have that conversation, like one suicide is too many. I mean, Ed, you nailed it with that one. And no one is suicidal until they are. And so if you you have to have this conversation. And if you're not having this conversation, there's a lot of courage that comes from it. And I know that we belittle ourselves and think that we can't say these things, but it's that, right? It's that tried and true quote, like, if not you, who? And if not now, when? So Absolutely. If you're not feeling, So breath in the yogic world. So it comes from courage comes from our breath and our pranic body. And so a lot of times we overthink things and we get way up in our head and we think like, everything that I said, what if I make it worse? What if I say the wrong thing? What if they get mad at me? What if they push me away? take a deep breath and return to that, and use your breath to kind of find that courage and find that power, because your gut and your intuition, like, you get these hits and these pings, and I think people a lot of times shove those things down because they don't think that they're supposed to, or like, who am I to say anything? But like, who are you not to say something?
Yeah, and I just want to normalize that. We said it's okay not to be okay. It's also normal and okay to feel kind of awkward about it and not always feel like you know what to say. You know what I mean? And so that outreach piece. And so again, we talked earlier about non-judgment and not being too critical of the self. I think if we're acting out of love and kindness, and we're doing it in gentle ways, and trusting intuition in that one kind of way. So you don't have to be, super person or whatever. It's just being you in a loving way and reaching out and showing that you care. And there are a lot of tools out there. So I really appreciate that. And reminds me of my favorite band. There's a verse out of Rise Against, but it says, we're all okay until we're not, and it's kind of that same thing. It's like you carry the huge weighted backpack or burden forever. You know what I mean? It's just how your life gets. And there just gets to be one day you can't take another step with it. And then it's not okay. And so anyway, so we're trying to help people, unload their backpack or even take it off and just leave it on the side of the road and move on without that thing. Because I think a lot of times we don't need to carry that stuff anymore. So, okay.
Well, and just like the whole thing of like, if you're trying to come at somebody who's like struggling with mental health, or, if you're trying to like reach out and be that bridge, like, do you really think that they need someone who is like perfectly in a little box and knows exactly what to say and is like, I'm an expert and blah, blah, blah? Like, no, they need a human being that's going to sit down and cry with them and be like, I don't fucking know either sometimes, and I'm not okay either. And so you don't need to be up on your high horse. You need to get down on your knees and surrender to the situation and be present with somebody.
Okay. Well,
so Ed, as we wrap
it up, Emmy.
As we wrap, this is my favorite part. So we always like to kind of wrap with what gives you hope. So what's giving you hope right now, Ed?
I love this question. And I'd like to give two things that give me hope. One is my kids. And it's when they make decisions to do something selfless on their own. It gives me hope that I'm doing the right thing and that that I've brought better people into this world. And just as an example, and this is a silly example, but it means a lot to me in the big picture. And it's this last football season. So all three of my boys played football. The two younger ones, youth football, and the older one, high school. But I was the coach for my 9-year-old, and we had just finished up our training, and we had to go to another school to where my 12-year-old was finished up his practice. And so it had been raining all day, right? We go, and my 12-year-old's practice was going long, and my 9-year-old, he's already been practicing for an hour and a half, 2 hours. He's soaking wet from the rain. He's cold, and it's starting to get dark. And I had noticed him because I was trying to watch my 12-year-old as he practiced. Maybe I could find something he needs to work on. But I noticed, my 9-year-old is just moving all around and doing a bunch of stuff behind me and around the field. And eventually I'm like, all right, what is he doing? So at first I thought he was just moving around to stay warm. And because I noticed him like bending over constantly. He was going around picking up trash and throwing it away. And, because as a dad, you try to get your kids to do the right thing, and you give them incentive and you tell them to do the right thing, but man, when they do it on their own, that for me, that's like, I love that so much. There was nobody to give him praise. Nobody told him to pick up the trash, and he didn't know that I was noticing what he was doing. And for me, that was like, maybe I'm doing something right. And so that there was hope in that. And the other thing is good people. And you guys, I'm going to use you guys as an example, right? Just good people doing good things. gives me hope for humanity. You guys could be doing anything you want on this podcast. You have a platform, and what George is doing gives the platform even more. I don't know if clout is the right word, but some more interest in it, and open and broadens it to a new audience. You could be doing anything to be getting likes and shares, and you choose to make the world a better place. And for me, that's just, God, that gives me hope. Good people doing good things, and I thank you for it.
Making me cry again, Ed.
Well, all good on that. I'm going to just, before we close, I'm going to say, your story, the reminder that the sun, they can't control the sun going down. They can't control the sun going up, because some days it feels like everything's, being controlled. So anyway, that reminder, there's always going to be another day. And so when we wake up, we got another opportunity to be our very best self. So I like that. And then I just want to say too, the story about your brothers, the lesson they taught you about standing up for people who can't defend themselves, that, they had whatever off the field issues, whatever you want to call it. But that there's a kind of a courage and a determination and a grit to stand in and put yourself at risk when there are others who are, can't defend themselves or without power and that kind of thing. And so, and I just, would remind, I think all of us have that ability to some extent. And so it's encouragement, particularly in the holiday season, to look around and just in your sphere of influence to see what you might be able to do with whatever resources you have, and to try to reach out and do those kind of things. And, the thing is, the more good people, or the more people trying to do good, we all have a shot at that. So I appreciate your story very much, Ed. And so thank you very, very, very much for sharing. So Lubu, anything you want to close with?
What gives me hope? Ed, you give me hope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Filling me with a lot of hope. And I think just, I have so appreciated, starting off with my mom and how the strength that she had, and, kind of recognizing that power. And then also taking it to your wife, and just, because obviously the things that you have gone through, if people listen to this and don't think you're a total badass for even just the military things that you have done, then whatever. But obviously people are getting that, and then to throw it up to your wife. And I guess just for me the gift of these episodes has been really seeing kind of this like dominant masculine energy that is so aware of their feelings. And I think that it's so refreshing to see this, and that it's not so taboo anymore. And, I think while a lot of people still maybe feel this like cloud of shame or uncomfort with their own feelings, I think this type of message and this type of podcast can be really, really helpful, because, the energy has to go somewhere. And if you keep anything trapped inside of you, even if it's something good, it can turn really toxic. And so, especially when we have these heavy emotions or the already like toxic things in us, if we don't know how to let them go, or, move the energy like we talked about last week, it can really hurt people. And so I just thank you so much for getting on here, and for sharing your story, and for just being so raw and real, and for offering up your purpose, because I think if everybody can just, it doesn't have to be the whole world. You don't have to help the whole world, but if we just help one more person, it's pretty beautiful, all the things that we can do.
I'd like to add something, and it's one of my mindsets that I learned when I started doing charity work. And it was because people came to the aid of my family when we got the initial diagnosis. And it's the mindset of what got me into starting to do charity work. And it's something I tell myself every day. It's if you think that one person can't change the world, start by changing the world for one person.
One
I
person at a
guarantee
time. Yeah.
I guarantee your mind will be changed.
And I have so many quotes. I took them on the back of this.
I know, right? I know.
I have so many quotes.
Yeah. All right. So Ed, usually I get tickets on Friday from the Niners for the game. And so I'll be emailing you that link. It'll have the 2 tickets in there. And again, you'll be sitting next to the 6th National Guard from Washington. So you, all of you folks can have a chat up, and I hope you enjoy the game. And then we will hopefully be able to, after the game, maybe sneak over and find you guys and get a pic with you guys and say hi. So we hope to do that in person. So again, just our love and prayers with you and your family, our gratitude for you sharing your story and being with us tonight. And again, our great thanks for your service and the message that you shared tonight. So thank you very much. So,
Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Emmy, anything
Thanks,
else?
Ed.
You good?
No, I'm.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Ed. We'll be staying in touch. Okay. Thank
All right.
you. Okay.
Take care.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for being a part of our show. Thank you for making this community what it is. We really, really appreciate all of you. And I've been getting a lot of messages from you guys lately, just in support of the show, but also just reaching out and sharing some stories with us. So to each of you who has been doing that and sharing a piece of yourself with us, I just want to say thank you and holding space for you all. So if you want to get more involved, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Hidden Pearls Podcast. We're on Twitter at Hidden Pearls Pod. If you ever want to reach out to us, you can do so at info@thunderbirdperformance.com. And if you find it in your hearts to give us a little holiday gift this season, it would be to write us a review, leave us something on Apple Podcasts, because it helps us to spread our message and get us out into the world a little bit more. And I think, you guys are going to hear that. Obviously, if you just listen to the show, I think this message needs to be spread everywhere. And so I'm very, very thankful for Laken, for George, for Pops, and Ed. I don't really have many words. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being on. Thank you, Jay Glazer and Nate Boyer, for making this connection. And we hope that you guys have fun at the Seahawks game as you watch the Niners whoop them. And then the rest of our National Guard members will be announcing those names as well. So thank you for your service. Thank you for accepting our tickets. Thank you for being a part of this. And we are so honored to host you. So with that, go Niners.